Chapter 1586. Taoist Ling Hai wasn't interested in the world of immortal execution's abilities or treasures. 9 levels of Jade Clear, High Clear, and Grand Clear. However, the Jadian sect's sect guarding technique, the Tao of Taiji Pure, was still unable to condense a strand of immortal energy to become a nascent soul true immortal. Even a nascent soul true immortal was only equivalent to a lesser innate god. As for the war between good and evil, Taoist Ling Hai had no interest in it. There were only a few people that Qin Feng was interested in. One was Zhang Xiaofan, the main character of the Son of Fortune. If he could take in such a Son of Fortune, it would undoubtedly speed up the refinement of the world of immortal execution. The second was a portion of the divine beast races in this world. These divine beast races had great potential, some of which Ling Hai didn't even have. The birth of new divine beast races would be of great benefit to the perfection of Ling Hai's laws. They might even be able to charge into the various wasteland reclaimers of the divine system. They would multiply and be rewarded as mounts for the divine system experts. The third was the experts hidden in the depths of this world. Ling Hai was trying to find the coordinates of the upper realm in the upper reaches of this world from these existences, or simply determine whether they were strong or weak. Why would they suddenly come to Ling Hai? Was there a conspiracy? Taoist Ling Hai frowned and glanced at the Jadian sect. Within the Jadian sect there was an ancient spiritual beast, the Water Qilin. After pondering for a moment, Taoist Ling Hai's figure flashed and appeared in the depths of the Jadian sect. As the leader of the righteous path in this world, the Jadian sect had its own style. Mountains were majestic and palaces stood in great numbers. Ethereal palaces sat in the depths of the clouds, surrounded by clouds. Occasionally, there would be a few auspicious cranes flying across the sky, circling endlessly. It was like a sacred realm of immortals. Taoist Ling Hai's figure went up the jade steps at the bottom of the Jadian sect like a gust of wind, passing through the Rainbow Bridge. The Rainbow Bridge spanned across 2 huge mountains. Below it was a bottomless abyss surrounded by clouds and mist. At a glance, one could suddenly stretch out the heavens and earth, the image of a broad heart and mind. With a slight glance, Taoist Ling Hai's figure appeared directly above a huge pond beside the Rainbow Bridge. He directly revealed his true body, wearing a gray robe, his long hair draped over his shoulders. His gaze was indifferent as it locked onto the pond. "Come out!" Along with his words, the Water Qilin's voice, the water, the pond's Water Qilin, the pond, the Water Qilin, the pond. Suddenly, a huge whirlpool appeared in the center of the pool. A moment later, a huge wave rose to the sky, and a giant light blue figure leaped out of the pool. "It's Ling Hai-s's Qilin's Hai-s his sect Blue Hai. At the same time, in the Jade Clear Hall, many of the Qin Yun sect's disciples felt the commotion and walked out from the various halls. They saw the Water Qilin on the square and the gray-robed Taoist in front of the Water Qilin immediately. At the same time, Qin Yun sect's 6 peak masters with the highest cultivation, Dusk Peak Master Taoist Tian Ri, Morning Sun Peak Master Chu Yuhong, Wind Return Peak Master Xing Shuchang, Small Bamboo Peak Master Shuiwe, Big Bamboo Peak Master Tian Boli and his wife, Dragon Head Peak Master Tsang Song, Tong Tian Peak Master, Qin Yun sect's sect Master Dao Xianjinren had all rushed over from various peaks. At the same time, there were many Blue Cloud sects heaven's prides of this generation. Tong Tian Peak's Xiao Yikai, Dragon Head Peak's Qi Hao, Tian Ling or Lin Jingyu, Big Bamboo Peak's Song Darren, Wu Dai, Zhengdali, Hidaji, Du Bishu, Little Bamboo Peak's Lu Sweki, Feng Wang Peak's Xing Shushu, Sun Peak's Shin Tiando, and others also appeared in front of the Jade Clear Hall. At this time, many experts were looking at the horizon, their faces were aghast. The purple gas above the square was dense. The purple gas came from the east for 30,000 miles. This was clearly a phenomenon that only appeared when the most divine and holy saints descended. Taoist Ling Hai's gaze looked around and landed in front of the many Qing Yun sect disciples in front of the Jade Clear Hall. With just one look, many of the Qing Yun sect experts felt a terrifying pressure from their hearts. Almost instinctively, their legs went soft and they all knelt on the ground. The 6 peak masters, including Qing Yun sect master Dao Xianjinren, were trembling in their hearts. Their entire body was drenched in sweat. They only felt that their mana that had just broken through to the grand pure realm was like an ant under that pressure. They could be sure that as long as that existence was willing, with just a glance, he could completely annihilate Qing Yun sect. Taoist Ling Hai only took a glance and then retracted his gaze. His gaze landed on the tall water qilin in front of him. That water qilin naturally knelt on the ground and lowered its head meekly. A pair of big eyes turned, as if it was trying to curry favor with the gray-robed man in front of it. As an ancient spiritual beast, a wild species, its intuition was much more sensitive than the average cultivator. It could clearly sense that even if Qing Yun sect's founding master Qing Yunzi and Qing Yi founding master were resurrected, they would not even be 1/10,000th of this gray-robed man in front of it. You have some spirituality. My gift to you was not in vain. Taoist Ling Hai chuckled. With a point of his finger, a bit of connate water origin appeared. At the same time, a Qilin clan's origin inherited cultivation method was sent into this big guy's body. I hope you don't disappoint me. The water Qilin was extremely spiritual. Once the connate water origin entered its body, it felt comfortable all over and could not help but let out a joyous roar. It felt that its origin had increased greatly and could be reborn in an instant. A dense spiritual energy rushed out of its body and countless scales fell off. Following the cultivation method that was sent in an instant, one of the elixirs in its body was forged into 9 transformations. It almost broke through the celestial boundary in one step. For a moment it could not help but be overjoyed. Many of Qing Yun sect's experts stared blankly at this scene. They saw that the gray-robed man only waved his hand and the Qing Yun sect's guardian spiritual beast's mana broke through the sky and caused a change in the weather. That huge pressure was even more terrifying than when Reverend Daoxian used the celestial slaying sword not long ago. This is an existence that is even more terrifying than those immortal Dao Almighties. He might be the legendary immortal Dao Emperor, or even the immortal Dao Ancestor. Qing Yun sect must seize this opportunity. If we can become the immortal Dao Ancestor's direct disciple, we need not fear those immortal Dao Almighties. Taoist Song, Reverend Daoxian and the rest of the Qing Yun sect's experts were shocked. Then their eyes lit up. Amidst their fear, a wild ambition was born in the depths of their hearts. However, they soon discovered that such wild hopes were futile. Under such a terrifying pressure, their bodies were practically trembling, and they couldn't even move their fingers. That water Qilin got the benefit. After venting, it rubbed its head against Taoist Ling Hai. It bent its knees and looked at Taoist Ling Hai with its big eyes. You want to be my mount? Taoist Ling Hai raised his eyebrows but smiled. Big guy, with your current strength, I'm afraid you're not qualified. Cultivate well. Taoist Ling Hai smiled. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared from the spot. Seeing the gray-robed Taoist disappear, the water Qilin's eyes were disappointed. Taoist Ling Hai's words hit it hard. On the other side, the people of Qing Yun sect felt that with the departure of the gray-robed man, a huge pressure suddenly disappeared. Many experts sat on the ground and could not get up for a long time. Many of the Qing Yun sect's disciples rejoiced as if they had escaped death. Compared to the rejoicing disciples, Reverend Daoxian, Taoist Song and the rest of the Qing Yun sect's experts felt more pity than joy. Such a huge opportunity and Qing Yun sect missed it. Many of the Qing Yun sect's elders felt bitter. Now in the world, the rumored experts of the Celestial Kingdom had already descended. Many sects were in an era of change. Many of the small sect's disciples were under the tutelage of some of the celestial kingdom's almighty figures and were rising rapidly. Qing Yun's sect was originally conceded because of its position as the leader of the orthodox sects and missed out on some opportunities. Now, many of the small sects were catching up. Chapter 1587. A few days after Taoist Ling Hai's departure, news of an unparalleled master descending upon Emerald Cloud Mountain and enlightening the primordial spirit beast, the water Qilin, spread across half of the divine prefecture. Emerald Cloud Mountain was the leading sect of the righteous path. Even the slightest rumor would spread far and wide, not to mention the arrival of an unparalleled master of the immortal path. The entire divine prefecture was abuzz with the news. Countless sects, large and small, were bewildered. The Poison God sect, Hall of Longevity, Hall of Blood Refinement, and a number of heretical sects were active to investigate. After leaving Emerald Cloud Mountain, Taoist Ling Hai gazed at the vast wilderness and fell into deep thought. In the immortal execution world, there weren't many primordial spirit beasts born of primordial divine beast bloodlines. The Eastern Sea Kuei, the Blackwater Serpent of the Dead Soul's Abyss, the Tautai of the Savage Beast God Cave, the Yellow Bird outside the Death Pool Celestial Emperor's Treasury, the Guardian of the Demonic Sect's Wildlands Shrine, and the Nine-Tailed Fox suppressed by the mystical Fire Mirror. Among them, the Eastern Sea Kuei was already dead. In addition, the guardian of the demonic sect's Wildlands Shrine, the Torch Dragon, was half dead. The demonic sect's leader, the Ghost King of the Ghost King sect, had been plotting to use the blood of the four divine beasts to refine supreme magic. The remaining ones were the Blackwater Serpent, the Tautai, the Yellow Bird, and the Nine-Tailed Fox. The Nine-Tailed Fox was a sentimental creature, suppressed by Funxiang Valley's 8 Barons Fire Dragon formation. Qin Feng didn't care for the nine-tailed fox either. He had a nine-tailed celestial fox that had followed him for 5,000 years. Now, Qin Feng had become the nine-tailed celestial emperor. The remaining ones were the Yellow Bird and the Blackwater Serpent. The Yellow Bird possessed the bloodline of the Phoenix. When the Phoenix ancestor's gaze fell upon the great thousand realms of the immortal Tao, his gaze had already landed on the Yellow Bird. It probably already had an inheritance. The last remaining one was the Blackwater Serpent. In the Spirit Sea, the Blackwater Serpent clan had long been enlightened by Qin Feng, the Lord of the Spirit Sea, into the 9 underworlds Dragon Clan. Without the Blackwater Serpent clan, Taoist Ling Hai's eyes flashed as he had an idea. With a flash of light, he vanished from where he stood. Fox Divergent Mountain, the lair of the leader of the evil path, the Ghost King sect. In their base, the few remaining evil disciples were looking out of Fox Divergent Mountain in panic. Over 100 righteous sects of various sizes had joined forces to attack Fox Divergent Mountain. Some righteous faction disciples overflowed with their mana, causing the weather to change. This kind of strength was already comparable to some of the sect elders who had cultivated for more than 200 or 300 years. He also had a powerful Dharma artifact in his hand that unleashed immense might at Fox Divergent Mountain without any scruples. On Fox Divergent Mountain's side, they were in low spirit. By relying on the array formations and traps in their lair, they could not last much longer. Many Ghost King sect members had exhausted their dermic powers and their faces were pale. There was a trace of resentment in his paleness. When had the Ghost King sect ever been so cowardly? Sect Master, these righteous faction disciples have all improved greatly after listening to the teachings of the Immortal Path's mighty figures. They have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. The poison goo and poisonous fog traps on the outer layer of Fox Divergent Mountain have almost been destroyed. The disciples can no longer hold on. If this continues, our entire Ghost King sect will die here. A tall and beautiful woman dressed in black looked at the mountain rock. She stood with her hands behind her back as she looked at the middle-aged man outside the mountain. The middle-aged man had an extraordinary temperament. His hair was white and he had an elegant temperament. Sect Master, the vermilion bird emissary is right. We only have one choice now, and that is to retreat to the Wildlands Shrine and rely on the complicated terrain of the Wildlands, as well as the countless poisonous insects and danger zones, to contend with the righteous faction sects. A low voice sounded. Where there's life, there's hope. The owner of the low voice was a figure shrouded in a black robe. Mr. Ghost was an extremely mysterious existence among the Ghost King sect's elders. Many of the Ghost King sect's elders were slightly anxious, but more of them were angry. All these years, ever since the Ghost King sect received Ghost Lee's help, it could be said that they had been successful in every endeavor. Who would have thought that at this time, there would be a group of powerful beings who claimed to be the Immortal Path's mighty figures from the upper realm giving a sermon? And they did not like these demonic faction disciples. One by one, the Ghost King sect's elders looked at the Ghost King, anxiously waiting for the Ghost King sect's sect master's decision. In an ordinary stone room, the decorations were simple and plain. In the long passageway outside, many Ghost King sect disciples hurried through. Occasionally, there would be injured Ghost King sect disciples who let out heavy panting sounds as if they could not bear the burden. A faint smell of blood came from the long passageway outside. Many Ghost King sect disciples had stopped breathing. There were also some disciples who were panting with difficulty. Their will to live was shocking, but it could not save their lives. In the stone room, on the icy jade platform in the center, a beautiful woman in green clothes was lying there quietly, as if she was sleeping in the silence of death. A black-robed youth silently stared at the beautiful woman on the jade platform. He tightly gripped a black iron staff and stared blankly at the woman on the jade platform. His cold and sharp face that was filled with killing intent softened. His eyes were as gentle as water as he foolishly stared at the beautiful woman who no longer had any signs of life. It was as if that beautiful and peaceful face was the memory of his life. Zhang Xiaofan, do you want to revive her? Kiki. At this moment, in the secret room, a cold voice with a strong evil and dark aura suddenly sounded. Taoist Ling Hai's figure appeared hundreds of miles away from Fox Divergent Mountain. He looked at Fox Divergent Mountain from afar and frowned slightly. From afar, he saw a huge wave of demonic chi descending from the sky and landing in Fox Divergent Mountain, directly finding Zhang Xiaofan. There were not many people in the demonic realm who had such pure and terrifying demonic chi. Looks like I don't have to do anything. Taoist Ling Hai's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. His gaze swept over the periphery of the immortal execution world. A large demonic realm appeared there, where terrifying great demonic gods faced off against numerous immortal Tao experts. Those were the experts of the demonic realm. Their leader was the master of the demonic realm, Demon Sovereign Firmament. The two sides used the immortal execution world as a chessboard and began a game of chess, vying for the sovereignty of this world. The demonic Tao had undoubtedly chosen the Ghost King sect as their leader, the demonic Tao. Taoist Ling Hai's eyes flashed as he glanced around, then disappeared from Fox Divergent Mountain in a flash. When he reappeared, he was in the Dead Swamp. The Dead Swamp was a famous and dangerous place in the immortal execution world. Stagnant water overflowed here, and countless extremely poisonous miasma shrouded it. Countless poisonous mutants lived here. Even some of the most vicious villains of the demonic Tao, the disciples of the Poison God sect who were known for their poison arts, couldn't stay here. When Taoist Ling Hai reappeared, he was already at the center of the swamp. In the center of the swamp, which was filled with deadly poison, was a terrifying giant tree that looked like a Chaos World tree. Chapter 1588. Without the protection of magic treasures, the terrifying poisonous aura was enough to easily poison ordinary prime clear realm cultivators to death. However, to Taoist Ling Hai, A mere bit of poisonous gas couldn't do anything to him. Not to mention this bit of poisonous gas, even those terrifying poison arts in the Poison God Canyon that could poison God Emperors to death couldn't touch him in the slightest. Taoist Ling Hai gazed at the massive ancient tree. The ancient tree towered into the skies, covering the sun. Its leaves were like a canopy, swaying gently in the wind. It was as if the entire Death Pond was enveloped by this ancient divine tree. However, while this ancient divine tree was massive, Taoist Ling Hai felt that it was just an empty frame. It was as if the essence within had been hollowed out by parasites, turning it into a mere decorative frame. Taoist Ling Hai's figure flashed, appearing on the crown of the divine tree. Within the dense canopy of leaves, there was a massive stone door. On the stone door there were 4 ancient faint golden seals. The Heavenly Emperor's treasury. It was rumored that the Heavenly Emperor was an ancient peerless expert who dominated the world. The 5 wordless heavenly scriptures were the legacies left behind by the Heavenly Emperor. Just this legacy alone gave birth to the Buddha, Taoist, Devil, and countless other branches of the immortal execution world. It could be said that he was the ancestor of the entire cultivation world of the immortal execution world. Looking at the ancient door, Taoist Ling Hai waved his sleeve. A formless force blew in like a spring breeze, instantly opening the massive stone door. Within the depths of the stone door, dense spiritual qi was abundant. Innate wood spiritual qi. Qin Feng's gaze flickered, landing at the center of the tree hole. There was a gigantic wooden stake there, and in the center of the wooden stake there was a small bowl. Within the bowl, an amber-like liquid flowed, and a jade-like cylinder was spinning. Innate wood spirit qi and innate wood spirit qi could be said to be the most precious treasures nurtured by the heart of the divine tree, the ancestor of all trees. Any cultivator who refined it could greatly expand their potential and stimulate their bloodline. It could be said to be a treasure. However, Taoist Ling Hai had seen plenty of such treasures. Within the spirit race, many elders had nurtured them. That cheap son of his, the Tsang Qiong Crown Prince, would offer him treasures every few days. There was no lack of such precious innate wood essence in the treasury. Sweeping his gaze across the tree hollow, Taoist Ling Hai's eyes flickered with a strange light. With a wave of his sleeve, a wave of divine power blasted into the tree stump. Rumble! As if the earth and mountains trembled, the tree stump emitted rays of golden light that pierced through the skies. Even outside of the Death Pond, the massive phenomenon. In the golden light, a mysterious and distant whisper suddenly echoed, like the chanting of the Buddhas in the surpassing realm of the spirited mountain or the resentful murmur of a lonely soul that had wandered in the 9 serenities of hell for billions of years. Taoist Ling Hai looked at this scene coldly. After a moment, the words suddenly disappeared. The moment the words disappeared, the whisper turned into a solemn chant. That dazzling golden pillar of light suddenly erupted like a volcano, blazing towards the sky of the celestial emperor's treasury. Then, with the sky as the center, it spread towards the walls around the tree hole. Under the illumination of the golden light, one by one, golden ancient seal script after another appeared on the walls. The strokes were bold and vigorous, as if they were flying dragons. They flew around Taoist Ling Hai. Taoist Ling Hai's gaze fell on the bee-like golden ancient seals. There was a strange look in his eyes. This was the most legendary Heavenly Tome's inheritance in the immortal execution world. It was the 3rd volume of the Heavenly Tomes. He glanced at it. The Heavenly Tome's ancient scroll was indeed the source of cultivation for all things. It didn't have specific words, but it contained the most fundamental mysteries of the vast thousand world. Cultivators would be able to comprehend the most suitable cultivation method for themselves from it. It's quite mysterious, but it's still useless to me. Taoist Ling Hai chuckled. He didn't look at the ancient seals, but at the center of the tree stump. His 5 fingers grabbed at the air like an eagle's claw. The tree stump exploded, and a pale golden spiritual light fell into his palm from the tree stump. It was a broken brand. In the brand there was a terrifying aura of domination. It was only a faint trace of aura, but it seemed to have blasted the entire tree hollow and completely destroyed the divine tree. However, Taoist Ling Hai's palm was like a huge world, firmly suppressing it. As if it had sensed the stimulation of the terrifying aura, the pale golden brand that had fallen into a deep sleep showed a trace of spirituality. I am the supreme God of creation of the world, the desolate heavenly emperor. Who dares disturb my slumber? A dignified and slightly angry voice came from the brand. It could be heard that this voice was quite unhappy to have been forcibly awakened from its slumber. There was also a trace of irrepressible anger. In fact, it was indeed very angry. Since the primordial age, its supreme divine body had been shattered by a peerless expert, leaving only a trace of its soul brand to escape disaster. It had been hiding in a divine tree for many years, using the tree to absorb the essence of heaven and earth to nourish its soul brand. Almost every time it woke up, its soul brand would dim a little, and it would be a little closer to being completely destroyed. God of creation, the desolate heavenly emperor? That's quite a big name. Taoist Ling Hai sneered. Listen carefully. I am the God of creation Ling Hai, the holy God of chaos, Taoist Ling Hai. At the same time, there was a huge pressure on the pale golden brand. God of creation Ling Hai, the holy God of chaos? The brand that called itself the desolate heavenly emperor was instantly dumbfounded. A pair of pale golden eyes opened completely, looking at the gray-robed figure in shock. This person's background was even bigger than his. The title of God of creation Ling Hai was one thing, but the holy God of chaos was incredible. At his peak, he was only a quasi-world level quasi-great thousand-world god, and was still a step away from becoming a 16th level great thousand-world god. Senior Ling Hai. The desolate heavenly emperor instantly withered, and hurriedly retracted the golden light all over his body, turning into a wretched middle-aged man in golden robes. He wore the 9-5 Emperor Dragon robe and looked very dignified. However, when he faced Taoist Ling Hai, his smile was more wretched and flattering. Your Majesty Ling Hai, you have entered this world because you have taken a fancy to my great thousand world. Your Majesty Ling Hai, please don't do anything. I am willing to submit and offer up my great thousand world. Chapter 1589. Taoist Ling Hai found it rather difficult to adapt to the fact that he'd become so obsequious and despicable in the next moment. Still, Taoist Ling Hai was quite pleased with how tactful the savage celestial emperor was. Atop the Chaos World Tree, when the creator of the immortal execution realm, the savage celestial emperor, was the first to submit, the refinement of the entire realm was completed in a single stroke. The immortal execution realm's instinctive resistance completely dissipated. A surge of fortune converged. On the central throne, 3 flowers appeared above Qin Feng's head. More than half of the 4th strand of primordial violet qi was refined in the blink of an eye. Within the 3 flowers, the images of many worlds floating and sinking could be faintly seen. It was an extremely grand vision. Only the master of a world could see the changes of the Qiankuan world and the birth and destruction of the greater thousand realms. The appearance of a greater thousand realms was extremely beneficial to the origin. Apart from this greater thousand realms, there were many other worlds of various sizes pouring in. They were all bursts of newly born fortune. The enormous benefits became the greatest foundation for Qin Feng and the many experts of the Spirit Sea divine system to improve. Over the years, most of the wasteland reclaimers under Qin Feng's command had stopped exploring the chaos of the 9th district. Their main focus was now on the worlds of various sizes pouring into the Spirit Sea. They'd completely digested the worlds that had poured into the Spirit Sea. It was also thanks to the assistance of the many experts of the God system that Qin Feng was able to control the spirit sea stably and was not afraid of the impact of the many world. His gaze fell upon the immortal execution realm. As it was completely refined, the competition between the immortal and demonic Tao experts for the immortal execution realm had reached a white-hot level. Qin Feng glanced indifferently and didn't pay much attention to it. His gaze fell upon the third strand of primordial chaos. As Taoist Ling Hai slashed out, Qin Feng gradually realized that he seemed to have taken the wrong path. Before nurturing his own primordial chaos, he should first slay 2 avatars and create 2 avatars of connate primordial chaos. Only then would he be able to eliminate the interference of these 2 laws. In fact, this was somewhat similar to the 3 corpses slashing technique passed down by Tao ancestor Hongjun. The 3 corpses slashing technique passed down by Tao ancestor Hongjun was to slash one's own good, evil, and one's own obsessions. When slashing obsessions, one's obsessions could be entrusted to various connate spiritual objects and create avatars with boundless magic power. Buddhists could also be entrusted to their own transcendence golden avatars, which was also immensely powerful, but it was somewhat inferior to connate spiritual objects. After severing the 3 corpses, the 3 corpses unification. The 3 corpses combined, the avatars in N was, the avatar could create billions of millions billions, and was only one step away from the great Tao of the great Tao. To the Tao heart was of the Tao transcendence was clear the Tao. With the 3 corpses slash, after entering the 16th level, not only would he be able to create 3 more clones with similar combat strength, but with the birth of the Dharmakaya, he would also be able to combine with the Dharmakaya, giving birth to endless mysteries. When the was the God of being, was God of the God 3 of God of it, could be said to be a direct path to eternity. Qin Feng's eyes flickered. After becoming the 12th connate Buddha Lord of the Buddhism sect, he also received a part of the Buddhism sect's true inheritance. The Buddhism sect's transcendence golden avatars was based on the 3 corpses slashing technique. In fact, in Qin Feng's opinion, destroying the 3 corpses slashing technique was only the beginning of the great Tao. There was a more mysterious part of the Tao heart realm behind it. It was fine for him to slash the 3 corpses slashing technique at level 17, but as his strength increased, so did the 3 corpses obsession. However, for Qin Feng, as long as he had merit, it was not too difficult to slash the 3 corpses slashing technique. His gaze landed on the 2nd lotus of the Great Path. With the complete control of the spiritual sea, the 2nd lotus of the Great Path had already reached the 9th level. The lotus of the Great Path swayed, and a silver-gray book emitted a mysterious silver-gray light. The connate spiritual treasure universe book. This was the best object for slaying the 2nd corpse obsession. With a thought, Qin Feng directed a portion of the source energy that he received from his spirit sea into the 2nd lotus flower of the Great Path. He followed the Buddhist secret method of condensing the Dharma Laksana true body and reverse-engineered the 3 corpses secret method. Senior, this is the spirit sea world you created? It's so powerful? Outside the immortal Slayer major world, 2 streams of light flashed out as Taoist Ling Hai and the savage Celestial Emperor appeared in the void. After exiting the immortal Slayer major world, the savage Celestial Emperor immediately sensed the vastness of the spirit sea. In the void, 3,000 rules roared like giant dragons, and the lofty 7 connate rules were faintly discernible. At the same time, as a former peak quasi-world expert and an ancient existence no weaker than the Genesis primordial spirit Panyuan, he immediately sensed countless terrifying auras faintly rising in the void of the spirit sea. Just around the immortal Slayer major world alone, there were several auras no weaker than his peak. There are so many quasi-world experts. The savage Celestial Emperor narrowed his eyes, a trace of shock flashing through his eyes. As the master of the immortal Slayer Major World, he was also born in a huge immortal Tao universe. However, the immortal Tao universe was definitely not as prosperous and terrifying as this strange universe. At a glance, in the center of the universe, numerous connate spiritual lights flickered, and countless powerful auras covered the sky like smoke signals, declaring their sovereignty and domain. Taoist Ling Hai glanced at the savage Celestial Emperor. He felt a little regretful. Although the savage Celestial Emperor was born in an upper world, his soul had been shattered by a peerless expert after his defeat. This remnant soul imprint also benefited from the nourishment of the immortal Slayer Major World, which was why he had been struggling at death's door until now. However, there were no complete coordinates of the immortal Tao upper world. With a move of his palm, countless light shadows emerged. Mountains, rivers, and lands appeared above his palm. Choose a place to nurture yourself. With your aptitude, as long as you can be born completely, you'll have a chance to continue to break through to the 16th level of the Greater Thousand World Realm. If you succeed in your cultivation, you'll have a place in the divine system again. Taoist Ling Hai said faintly. As long as one was loyal and had aptitude, Qin Feng had never been stingy with his rewards. Taoist Ling Hai glanced at the savage Celestial Emperor. Although there were many experts in the Spirit Sea Divine System, most of them had just entered the Divine System not long ago. Benefits came first, and there was no need to talk about loyalty. An existence like the savage Celestial Emperor was just right to be taken in as a confidant. Taoist Ling Hai hoped to nurture a Greater Thousand World Realm expert who was truly a confidant of the Spirit Sea Sovereign. Chapter 1590. Savage Celestial Emperor naturally understood Taoist Ling Hai's intentions. Taoist Ling Hai didn't hide his intentions. Savage Celestial Emperor didn't care because he had no other choice. His soul mark was broken, and without a body to nourish it, it would crumble and vanish into thin air. Soon, he picked a new place of spiritual beauty, the 9 skies of the Spirit Sea. 9 skies clear chi swirled within, and he chose one of them, the connate Genesis chi. This connate Genesis chi was all-encompassing and most compatible with the Heavenly Scroll's true teachings. With the innate Tai Shi's chi in the innate 5 Genesis origin, he would be an innate Tai Shi Celestial Emperor. It wouldn't take long for him to reincarnate and ascend to the 16th level. In that case, I'll have to trouble your majesty. When I reincarnate one day, I'll be sure to follow your majesty and repay your majesty's kindness. Savage Celestial Emperor's fawning expression vanished, replaced by a solemn expression as he bowed respectfully. Go! Taoist Ling Hai nodded. With a wave of his sleeve, an invisible force wrapped around the desolate Celestial Emperor's brand, piercing through countless planes and sending it into the depths of the 9 heavens, into a massive ball of primordial chi. When savage Celestial Emperor's soul mark entered the connate Genesis chi, it began to absorb the connate Genesis chi and turned into an ancient, grayish-black banner. It gradually turned into a giant egg and took root in the depths of the 9 skies, vanishing without a trace. Eternal treasure, the connate Genesis banner. Not bad at all. Taoist Ling Hai's eyes flashed with a smile, and he looked up at the Chaos World Tree's branches. Countless worlds of various sizes hung on the branches like leaves. Some of the resistors' bases were among them. Apart from observing the newly assimilated immortal Tao, he also had another mission: to investigate the resistors' bases and destroy them in one fell swoop. With a flash of light, Taoist Ling Hai's figure tore through the fabric of space and vanished in the blink of an eye. In the Ling Shao Celestial Court within the Chaos World Tree, Qin Feng saw Taoist Ling Hai's every move clearly from his throne. As the god of creation of a Greater Thousand World, the savage Heavenly Emperor's potential was no weaker than that of the Spirit Sea's god of creation, Pan Yuan. It wouldn't be long before he would have another powerful god under his command. In the Lingxiao Heavenly Court, as the Creator Space and the Spirit Sea completely merged not long ago, the vision gradually dissipated. Many experts had already returned to the various spirit regions in the Spirit Sea. The bustling Lingxiao Celestial Court seemed to have calmed down quite a bit. Following the complete fusion of the Creator Space and the Spirit Sea, the Origin's feedback also ended. Vaguely, Qin Feng's aura soared. Every move he made had a might that far surpassed his peers. At this moment, there were still many powerhouses of the divine system training in the hall. The palace of the Lingxiao Celestial Court was very strange. It seemed to be at the center of the chaotic world tree, but it was actually built directly on the origin of the Spirit Sea. The manifested deity positions were all directly connected to the origin. It could be said that this was the place closest to the Spirit Sea's laws. Apart from a few origin sacred lands, no other expert's paradise could compare to this place. At a glance, the tall deity seats were like the sun and moon, stretching to the horizon. They were divided into 2 rows and truly looked like a supreme realm of God. Qin Feng's gaze fell on the depths of the distant void. At this moment, the entire Spirit Sea was under his control. Even the heavenly emperors of a world were no more than this. If it weren't for the resistance and the missing chaos-level Sun of Destiny, it might have been perfect. He could slowly wait for the innate primordial laws to be perfected. That's not right. There's still the Western Dragon Divine System's Doomsday Lord and the Nobles of Chaos. On the deity seat, Qin Feng's expression turned cold. The Doomsday Lord and the Nobles of Chaos were like ticking time bombs. Especially the Doomsday Lord, a third-step primordial chaos divine god. After suffering a great loss in the Spirit Sea, he probably wouldn't let this matter rest. Qin Feng pondered for a moment. Recently, he had received some news from the great demon world's supreme mystery Dragon Lord, East Blue Dragon Lord, and the Eastern Barren Upper World's Life Divine Lord. The Doomsday Lord and the 17th level Primal Chaos Saint God from the Primal Chaos Noble Clan had been running around this Primal Chaos region. Some secret arts regarding the Nobles of Chaos flashed through Qin Feng's mind. The Nobles of Chaos had thousands of secret arts. As the heaven-splitting race, they had many ways to break through even the 33 heavens. Many of them were impossible to guard against. His expression was heavy. In truth, if it was only Pan Lin of the Nobles of Chaos, he would have let it go. But if it was only this person, he could have just killed him. With the addition of the Doomsday Lord, a ferocious primordial chaos divine god, he had no choice but to hold back. At this moment, Qin Feng's expression changed. He suddenly looked up and saw a ray of divine light entering the hall. A golden-armored divine general entered the numinous sky hall. "Your Majesty, the heavenly soldiers outside the northern heavenly gate have reported that there are foreign emissaries requesting an audience. When the Spirit Sea God system was formed, they didn't seal off the Spirit Sea. In fact, there were 4 heavenly gates outside the Spirit Sea that were connected to the Chaos region for foreign emissaries." Not long ago, when Qin Feng broke through to the 17th level, many experts from other god systems had sent people to congratulate him. However, although the 4 heavenly gates were called the gates of heaven and earth, they weren't as simple as just gate. Although they were usually open, they were the gateway to the Spirit Sea. However, if someone tried to barge in, they would definitely be attacked by the Spirit Sea. Even the primordial chaos divine god would be severely injured if he got close. Foreign emissaries? In the main hall, some experts who were meditating in the main hall opened their eyes. Then, they closed their eyes again. Although it wasn't common for foreign emissaries to request an audience, it wasn't something rare either. Looking at the divine general in front of the main hall, Qin Feng opened his eyes. An indescribable divine light flashed across his eyes. His voice was heavy. "Did they say which god system they are from?" The divine general in front of the main hall asked respectfully. "Your Majesty, The foreign emissary claimed to be the emissary of the Phoenix race. What is the Phoenix race doing here? On the throne, Qin Feng's eyes moved as he thought to himself. Although the Phoenix race wasn't in the top 10 among the many races in the Chaos region, they were still one of the strongest races. If Qin Feng was the king of a mountain, then the Phoenix race was the local tyrant with a long history. Their influence was far beyond what a king of a mountain could compare to. Moreover, the Phoenix race had always been arrogant. They don't wake up early if there are no benefits. I'm afraid it's not something good. Qin Feng originally wanted to send him back, but after thinking about it, he still decided to listen and see what the Phoenix clan was trying to do by running over here so eagerly. He raised his eyes and said with a dignified expression, "Please come in." Chapter 1591. Outside the northern heavenly gate in the Spirit Sea, several Phoenix tribe elders in luxurious robes looked inside the tall heavenly gate. Inside the heavenly gate, there were thousands of rays of divine light, and countless spiritual mountains, palaces, and buildings could be vaguely seen. It's a pity that such a huge 33 heavens didn't fall into the hands of our Phoenix tribe. According to my suggestion, we should ask the Grand Mist Holy God Ancestor in our tribe to take action. Such a huge upper realm is of great significance to our Phoenix tribe. Just wait and see. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. This Spirit Sea might fall into the hands of our Phoenix tribe one day. Several elders communicated with each other through divine consciousness. The 3 Phoenix tribe elders had strange looks in their eyes, and their expressions were high. The 3 elders came from several prominent branches of the Phoenix tribe: the Purple Phoenix, the Demon Phoenix, and the Blue Phoenix. The Purple Phoenix was the Thunder Phoenix, and the Demon Phoenix was the wildest and the strongest in physical combat. The Blue Phoenix had the most members. At this moment, a golden-armored divine general walked out from the heavenly gate. "Elders, His Majesty summons you to the palace. Please." The 3 Phoenix tribe elders looked at each other and secretly exchanged glances. With the divine general leading the way, the 3 Phoenix tribe elders felt that the faint deterrent force outside the heavenly gate had disappeared. When they passed through the northern heavenly gate, the 3 Phoenix tribe elders changed slightly. They felt a terrifying force sweep through their divine bodies and even the depths of their souls. When the expressions of the 3 elders changed, a cold smile flashed across the corner of the heavenly general's mouth. The 3 elders' high and mighty attitudes had long made him unhappy. However, he still said, "Don't panic. This is the power of the heavenly court's heavenly mirror. As long as you don't hide anything else, it won't affect you." The 3 elders of the Phoenix clan did not look too good. They felt as if their insides and undergarments had been pulled off and searched. It was a blatant show of strength. The 3 Phoenix tribe elders were livid, and they roared in their hearts. However, they were so sullen that they couldn't speak. After checking for a while, the indescribable faint golden light in the void retreated. Only then did the 3 phoenixes let out a sigh of relief. However, they were still feeling humiliated. With a gloomy face, he passed through the northern heavenly gate. It was as if the stars had moved, and endless starlight flickered. It was as if he had arrived at another world. What greeted them was a huge gate tower. White clouds rolled in, and the scenery inside was astonishing. The pavilions and halls were surrounded by divine light. Tens of thousands of rays of golden light rolled in red, and thousands of strands of auspicious chi sprayed out purple mist. Red muslin clothes, dazzling stars, a hibiscus crown, a golden splendor, a jade hairpin and pearl shoes, and a purple ribbon and gold medallion. The palaces seemed to stretch all the way to the horizon. The innate spiritual energy was so dense that it was tangible. There were billions of galaxies, and the boundless power of the stars fell on the vast and boundless land. The speed of cultivation here was absolutely unimaginable. There were also teams of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals in silver armor traveling through the clouds and the sky. There were also countless beautiful goddesses traveling among the jade buildings. The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, as well as the maids of the heavenly court, did not look weak. They were also ferocious. It was obvious that they had fought their way out of mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Around the sea of clouds, there were many spirit mountains floating above the clouds. Spirit beasts ran, and auspicious cranes flew in the sky. The spirit mountains were surrounded by clouds, and there were thousands of colorful rays of auspicious chi. What a grand style! The three phoenixes looked at each other and took a deep breath. The Spirit Sea Divine System was not a country bumpkin as they had imagined. Instead, it looked abnormally grand. Just the fact that this was a Spirit Mountain blessed land was shocking enough. One had to know that the Spirit Mountain blessed land did not support ordinary spirit meridians. The weakest spirit meridians were sacred-grade spirit meridians, and there was no lack of top-tier divine spirit meridians. Among the phoenixes, only prominent branches like the Crimson Phoenixes, the Thunder Phoenixes, and the Demon Phoenixes could support such a treatment. May I ask this heavenly general, is this the legendary Lingshao heavenly court of the Spirit Sea Divine System? Elder Zi Huang could not help but ask. Then, Elder Zi Huang said again, "The place where thousands of gods come to pay homage is indeed worthy of its reputation." The heavenly general shook his head and smiled slightly. "Esteemed guest, you have guessed wrongly. This is only the first level of the great world where the heavenly court is located." After saying that, he revealed a hint of pride on his face. "According to our Majesty, in the future, the heavenly court will have 36 layers of worlds as 36 heavens to protect the central heavenly court." 36 heavens, 36 layers of worlds? The three phoenixes were shocked. Any great thousand world was extremely precious. If an ordinary godly king obtained a great thousand world, it would be a piece of cake for him to cultivate to the godly Dharch realm. Even a quasi-great thousand world was not impossible. It could be said that a great thousand world was the foundation of a 16th level world level expert. In the Sky Demon Great World, there were many great thousand worlds, but most of them were occupied by the 16th level world level creator saint gods. They were the foundation of a clan. The Spirit Sea Heavenly Court was extremely extravagant. The Heavenly Court was divided into 36 heavens, and it was vast and boundless. The group walked all the way to the 36 heavens. Everywhere they passed, they saw godly mountains, and there were many shining treasures. The spiritual light that shot into the sky could be seen for thousands of miles. Those were the signs of great treasures being nurtured. There were even godly mountains that were surrounded by white clouds, and innate spiritual light flashed. Those were the signs of innate spiritual roots and innate spiritual items being nurtured. The three phoenixes were dazzled, and they could not hide their shock. Those innate spiritual roots and innate spiritual items in the Sky Demon Great World could only be enjoyed by the 16th level world level creator saint gods of the Phoenix clan. Especially in those godly mountains, there were powerful existences guarding them, and there was no lack of godly emperors, and even quasi-great world-level experts. Their auras shook the sky. After passing through the 36 heavens, they arrived at the noblest place in the heavenly court, the Lingshao Palace. The grand hall of the divine firmament was decorated with golden nails and jade doors, colorful phoenixes dancing on the vermilion door, and winding corridors. Everywhere was exquisite and translucent, with 3 eaves and 4 clusters, layers upon layers of dragons and phoenixes soaring in the air. Above, there was a purple towering structure, bright and dazzling, with a big golden gourd on top. The Phoenix clan had always prided themselves on being arrogant and bright. However, when they saw this scene, the 3 phoenixes felt that the Phoenix clan's nest, the Tiannan volcano, was like a thatched hut that could not be seen. The most shocking thing was where the Lingshao Palace was located. They saw a godly tree branch that supported the heavens and the earth, and it was incomparably huge. In the Tiannan volcano, the ancestral golden parasol tree that the Phoenix clan was proud of was like a baby under this terrifying godly tree. The World Tree. What shocked the three phoenixes the most was the purple-gold ancient vine that wrapped around the World Tree. It was like a dragon, and on top of the purple-gold ancient vine, there were 7 innate spiritual gourds that were overflowing with colorful light. They were extremely eye-catching under the purple-gold leaves. Chapter 1592. In fact, it wasn't just the 3 elders of the Phoenix tribe. Even the experts of the Spirit Ocean Divine System were stunned when they saw the 7 gourd. Many experts of the Spirit Ocean Divine System had seen the 7 connate gourds many times. These were the best connate spiritual items. If they were refined slightly, they would have a chance of becoming an acquired or connate spiritual treasure. The 3 elders of the Phoenix tribe no longer had any sense of superiority. All that was left was a little arrogance. The 3 of them entered the Lingshao Palace, surrounded by many experts of the divine system. "Who are you, Your Highness? Kneel when you see the ruler." The leader of the group, an extremely majestic white-robed god, snarled coldly. At the same time, a huge pressure came. On the throne, Qin Feng's gaze fell on the 3 elders of the Phoenix tribe. After a glance, Qin Feng looked away. The white-robed expert was the Judgment Ancestor God of the Judgment Divine Court of the Divine System. As the Master of the Judgment Divine Court, he was a quasi-world-level expert of the Greater 1,000 Worlds. In addition, he cultivated the laws of judgment. The 3 elders of the Phoenix tribe couldn't resist, and were forced to kneel on the ground. The 3 men's faces were deathly pale, their brows furrowed in anger. Seeing this, Qin Feng waved his hand. It was enough to suppress the power of the Phoenix tribe. There was no need to make enemies with the Phoenix tribe. Seeing Qin Feng's expression, the ancestral god of the Judgment Divine Court was intimidated and stood aside. "Rise!" The majestic voice of the Heavenly Emperor sounded from the throne in the middle of the hall. The 3 elders of the Phoenix tribe heaved a sigh of relief, but their faces were still gloomy. The leader, Elder Zi Huang, looked at the Lord of the Spirit Ocean on the throne. With just a glance, Elder Zi Huang's pupils shrank. She looked like she had just broken through to the quasi-world level not long ago and wasn't considered outstanding among the elders of the Phoenix tribe. Because of a fortuitous encounter in her early years, she had an extremely special ability. Her keen intuition was far above that of ordinary quasi-world level experts. It could even be said that she was on par with some of the Greater 1,000 Worlds creators. Apart from going to the Spirit Sea to force the Spirit Sea to hand over the Phoenix ancestor, she also had another mission, which was to investigate the Spirit Sea's ruler. He wanted to see if he had sustained any injuries after clashing head-on with the Doomsday Lord, or if he had made any progress in the 17th stage of the Primal Chaos Holy God realm. However, with just a glance, Elder Zi Huang could feel a terrifying pressure brewing within it. Terrifying, unfathomable. With just a glance, Elder Zi Huang's spiritual perception was almost shattered. That was definitely much more terrifying than the Scarlet Phoenix Master. She raised her head, and in the next moment, she saw a pair of enigmatic eyes on the divine throne, amidst the endless radiance. Zhang Xian's heart skipped a beat. "Honorable Primeval Emperor, we are the elders of the Phoenix clan in District 9 of the Chaos World. We have received orders from the Origin Divine Realm and the ruler of the Phoenix clan, the Lord of the Red Phoenix clan. Please return to the Origin Divine Realm and pay your respects to your ancestral land." As if she sensed someone calling her true name, the radiant saint god, Phoenix Ancestor, suddenly opened her eyes. She glanced in the direction of the cloudy palace of the Golden Arches, and with a flash, she vanished from the Sun Palace. At the front of the Lingshao King Palace, on the divine throne, endless radiance shone, and an aura that surpassed the 16th stage appeared out of nowhere. The vast aura appeared above the hall. With the protection of the divine thrones, the experts of the god system were fine. However, Elder Zi Huang, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Qing Luan's faces changed drastically, and they could not help but kneel on the ground again. It was an aura that came from the depths of the bloodline, the origin of the upper bloodline. Phoenix Ancestor turned around and looked at the three quasi-greater world realm experts of the Phoenix clan who were completely unfamiliar with her. These three experts of the Phoenix clan could not conceal their extraterritorial aura. At the same time, many experts of the Phoenix clan appeared on the divine thrones behind Phoenix Ancestor one after another. They looked at the experts of the Phoenix clan curiously. Qin Feng glanced at the experts of the Phoenix clan who had suddenly appeared, and his expression did not change. He looked at the three elders of the Phoenix clan and said plainly, "Phoenix Ancestor, please return to the ancestral land of the Phoenix clan. Don't you know that Phoenix Ancestor is the first saint god of the Spirit Sea divine system? She is also the Sun Lord of the Light attribute. If you ask her to return to the Phoenix clan, is the Phoenix clan trying to poach her from the Spirit Sea divine system?" At the end of his words, Qin Feng's eyes were filled with a tinge of sternness. Phoenix Ancestor looked at the Spirit Sea sovereign with a strange expression, and the experts of the Phoenix clan also had different expressions. The three emissaries of the Phoenix clan were frightened, and they felt a tinge of murderous intent. Elder Qing Luan quickly explained, "No, no, Your Majesty, you have misunderstood us. We have no such intention. According to the rules of the Phoenix clan, any member of the Phoenix clan who has broken through to the 16th stage of the Creator Saint God must return to the ancestral land and pay respects to the ancestor. Only then can they obtain the complete inheritance of the 16th stage of the Creator Saint God. Inheritance above the 16th stage of the Creator Saint God." Phoenix Ancestor and the experts of the Phoenix clan were moved. It was undeniable that this condition was tempting. Elder Purple Phoenix, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Qing Luan saw the expressions of the experts of the Phoenix clan, and they looked at each other with a tinge of smugness. For an expert of the Phoenix clan like Phoenix Ancestor, the orthodox inheritance of the clan was an irresistible temptation. Inheritance above the 16th stage? Do you think that the Spirit Sea divine system doesn't have any inheritance above the 16th stage? Qin Feng's expression was sharp. Qin Feng's expression was cold. He had known that the Phoenix clan would not do anything without benefits, but he did not expect them to dare to come to the Spirit Sea divine system to poach their members. "Your Majesty, although that is the case, this is the tradition of the Phoenix clan. Please respect the inheritance of the Phoenix clan and allow Phoenix Ancestor to make a pilgrimage to the origin divine world." Elder Purple Phoenix bowed, neither servile nor overbearing. Hearing this, the coldness on Qin Feng's face disappeared completely, and he looked at Phoenix Ancestor nonchalantly. "Since this has always been the tradition of the Phoenix clan, it is indeed not my place to stop it. However, the pilgrimage is voluntary. I also believe that no one can force the experts of the Spirit Sea divine system to do so." Qin Feng looked coldly at Elder Purple Phoenix, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Qing Luan. Elder Purple Phoenix, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Qing Luan's hearts skipped a beat. They wanted to say something, but they did not dare to talk back. "Phoenix Ancestor, what do you think?" Qin Feng's gaze was indifferent. Phoenix Ancestor's expression darkened. At this moment, all the elders of the Phoenix clan in the Lingshao Palace looked at her. In all fairness, Phoenix Ancestor was willing to leave the Spirit Sea. Compared to the Spirit Sea, the Phoenix clan in the origin divine world was the holy land of the experts of the Phoenix clan. The complete inheritance, the protection of the clan, and the secret inheritance of some of the ancient experts of the Phoenix clan. Moreover, Phoenix Ancestor knew very well that in the chaos, the strength of the Phoenix clan was not something an ordinary divine system could compare to. Even if the Spirit Sea divine system had the Spirit Sea divine world, it could only be considered a local tyrant. It was clear which was more important. However, Phoenix Ancestor was hesitant. She knew very well that the Spirit Sea divine world's lord was not a good person. Would the Spirit Sea divine world's lord, the Chaos divine world's lord, let her go? Phoenix Ancestor did not believe it. Some things could only be obtained when one was alive. Death was the end of everything. Chapter 1593. Seeing Ancestor Phoenix remain silent. Elder Purple Phoenix, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Green Phoenix looked at each other, and their eyes lit up. They knew that the rank 16 Holy God of Light from the Phoenix clan had been persuaded. All they had to do was add fuel to the fire. Elder Demon Phoenix, who had been silent all this while, spoke in a hoarse voice. Ancestor Phoenix, you don't have to think too much. The Phoenix clan is one of the top clans in the Chaos world. The friendship of the Phoenix clan is beneficial to the Spirit Sea. I believe that His Majesty will not make things difficult for the Phoenix clan. Showing off. This was a blatant show of strength. The three elders from the extraterritorial Phoenix clan looked at the Spirit Sea Lord respectfully with pride in their eyes. There was a trace of threat in it. In the Lingxiao King Palace, the expressions of many experts changed, and most of them looked at the Spirit Sea Lord, who was sitting on the central throne. Qin Feng sneered in his heart. How dare they threaten him? Qin Feng's expression was indifferent as he faced the various gazes from Ancestor Phoenix and the other members of the Phoenix clan. Of course, we have to show respect to the Phoenix clan. Upon hearing this, the expressions of many Divine Branches experts changed slightly. Many experts were disappointed. However, many experts from the Phoenix clan smiled. They even felt proud from the bottom of their hearts. Even an existence like the Spirit Ocean Lord would have to retreat in the face of the Phoenix clan's immense pressure. Elder Zi Huang, Elder Yao Huang, and Elder Qing Luan smiled. However, Qin Feng changed the topic. However, as far as I know, the periphery of the Spirit Sea is not very safe. Everyone knows that the Doomsday Master of the Western Dragon God System is outside the Spirit Sea. I have to give you a piece of advice. If you are teleported into the Doomsday Master's lair when you leave the Spirit Sea, don't blame me for not warning you. His indifferent voice carried a trace of coldness. In the Lingxiao King Palace, all the experts from the Phoenix clan felt as if they had fallen into a freezer. If Elder Purple Phoenix, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Blue Phoenix were flaunting with a hint of threat, then this Spirit Sea Lord was blatantly threatening them. His meaning was clear. You want to leave? Sure. I won't kill you, I'll just send you to the mouth of the Apocalypse Lord. The Apocalypse Lord was an evil and crazy existence. When it reached his mouth, the many powerhouses of the Phoenix clan seemed to have their lives at stake. Qin Feng chuckled, his gaze landing on Ancestor Phoenix. Your Majesty Ancestor Phoenix, why don't you set off now and let me send you off? As he spoke, a ball of terrifying light appeared in his palm. Looking at the ball of light, not only did the experts from Soaring Heaven King Palace have a change in expression, but Ancestor Phoenix's face also turned pale. She quickly walked out of her god seat and kowtowed. Your Majesty, I've made up my mind. I'm a part of the Spirit Sea God System with the Phoenix clan. I'm a member of the Spirit Sea God System, and I'm a soul of the Spirit Sea God System for the rest of my life. It could be seen that Ancestor Phoenix's expression was extremely ugly when she said that. Even his forehead was covered in cold sweat. The smiles on Elder Zi Huang, Elder Yao Huang, and Elder Qing Luan's faces froze. The entire Soaring Heaven King Hall was silent. What? You're not going? On the god seat, Qin Feng's expression was indifferent. Ancestor Phoenix did not speak, but she felt a chill in her heart. Even though she was a rank 16 greater world's origin saint god, she still felt as though she would die in the next moment under that gaze. Ancestor Phoenix knew that she might have really angered the spirit sea god this time. Ancestor Phoenix's heart was filled with fear. Ever since she had broken through to rank 16, Creator Saint God, she had never felt so close to death. It turned out that a rank 16, Creator Saint God was so weak in front of a rank 17, Chaotic Saint God. When Elder Zi Huang, Elder Yao Huang, and Elder Qing Luan saw this, their expressions changed. Your Majesty, however, before they could finish speaking, Qin Feng suddenly turned around and scolded them sternly. Shut up! Who do you think you are? How dare you come to my spirit sea god system and criticize us? If you say another word, do you believe that I won't kill all of us here? Elder Zi Huang, Elder Yao Huang, and Elder Qing Luan's faces turned pale. Under that terrifying aura, they could not say a word, and their faces turned green and white. They were terrified and terrified. Ancestor Phoenix, for the next 10,000 years, you should cultivate well on the Sun Star. I hope you won't disappoint me in the future. The Sun Star Master, the Light Origin Holy Land, may have a second master. Qin Feng's eyes were cold. Ancestor Phoenix's face turned pale. Without the Sun Star Master and the Light Origin Holy Land, she, as the Light Origin Saint God, would only exist in name. Ancestor Phoenix left with a group of Ancestor Phoenix expert. Many experts of the Spirit Sea God system sneered coldly. She thought that she could run away as long as she clung onto someone powerful. She was daydreaming. Among the experts of the various god systems, the experts of the dragon race were the happiest. Ancestor Phoenix had been forced into seclusion, and the Phoenix race had lost the support of a saint god like Ancestor Phoenix. How could they be a match for the experts of the dragon race? The number one race of the Spirit Sea still belonged to the dragon race. With the support of the number one race of the Spirit Sea, it would not be long before several quasi-ranked greater world experts of the dragon race had the qualifications to break through to rank 16. If they were lucky enough to break through, even if Ancestor Phoenix came out of seclusion, she would still be inferior to the dragon race. On the throne, Qin Feng looked indifferently at Elder Purple Phoenix, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Green Phoenix in the Lingxiao Palace. You guys get lost too. Elder Purple Phoenix, Elder Demon Phoenix, and Elder Green Phoenix left in a panic. In the outer layer of the Spirit Sea, just as the emissary of the Phoenix race arrived, the experts of the Resistance were already preparing for the second summoning. The first summoning of the Immortal Slayer Major World did not hinder the Spirit Sea Lord's control of the Spirit Sea as they had expected. Instead, it brought benefits to the Spirit Sea God system. This made the experts of the Resistance angry, but at the same time they saw hope. They were unlucky this time, but it might not be the same next time. At this time, in the depths of the palace in the huge plain, the bronze altar emitted a bronze radiance. It was connected to the endless chaos, and the blood stains around the altar had yet to dry. Their eyes blazed as they stared at the bronze altar that seemed to resonate with the mysterious young man. Several quasi-world-level experts stood behind the mysterious young man like guards, like stars surrounding the moon. Young Master, is it safe for us to hold the summoning ceremony in the same plane twice in a row? One of the quasi-rank greater world experts was uneasy. He was not the only one. The other quasi-rank greater world experts were also uneasy. A rank 16, Creator Saint God was already known as the cicada who sensed the autumn wind before it even moved. A rank 17, Chaotic Saint God's spiritual sense was probably even more terrifying, especially when there was an inescapable net to search for them. They were the rats who hid in the dark. Chapter 1594. What are you afraid of? Have you forgotten how you survived all these years? Although the heavenly network is very powerful, we have also developed a weapon that can confuse the heavenly network. Otherwise, do you think the resistance would have been able to survive all these years? The young expert glanced at them with a hint of disdain in his eyes. Not to mention that the resistance had already developed some secret techniques to resist the dragnet. The spiritual treasures such as the bronze altars were also born with the marvelous ability to block the heavenly mysteries. The Spirit Sea Sovereign was powerful, but he couldn't do anything to a treasure like the bronze altar. The light emitted by the bronze altar grew brighter and brighter. It was like the sun in the sky. This strange phenomenon stunned the experts of the resistance organization. Soon, many of them, including the young expert, became excited. This was an upper realm, a realm of the Trayastrimsa heaven. The enormous Trayastrimsa heaven came extremely quickly. It was as if two enormous suns had crashed into each other. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, a world-shaking ripple swept across the entire outer realm of the eastern gray space, straight into the Spirit Sea and into the depths of the souls of the trillions of living beings. Rumble! At this moment, the billions of people in the Spirit Sea felt as if their souls had been hit by an earth-shattering explosion. They were stunned. What's this? In the Netherworld, the Lord of the Netherworld, the earthly Emperor, Wang Daoi, suddenly stood up from his throne and looked at the Spirit Sea. The East Sea Dragon Palace, the North Pole Ice Soul Heaven Palace, the South Sea Underwater Mansion, the outskirts of the Immortal Slayer World, the Devil Domain, the 18 Hells, the Most High Tao Palace. In the Spirit Sea, the quasi-kiliocosm of world-level experts were staring in shock at the eastern gray space. It was as if an enormous world had crashed into the Spirit Sea's crystal wall. Countless planes in both worlds were shattered. A portion of the Chaos World Tree's branches were also shattered by the destructive impact. On the Chaos World Tree, in the Lingshao Palace, many divine systems felt their deity thrones tremble violently, as if they would shatter at any moment. They were extremely shocked and looked toward the void in the east. What's going on? Are several third-step primordial chaos divine gods attacking us? Fear filled the faces of many experts. He could feel the rules he had mastered trembling vigorously from the impact, as if they were going to shatter at any second. The entire numinous Heaven King Palace, and even the 36 heavenly realms were shaking and on the verge of collapse. Look, what's that? Amidst the chaos, an expert's cry could be heard. Many experts looked in the direction that the group of experts was looking at. A gigantic orange-red sun seemed to have appeared in the eastern sky. Countless rays of red light rushed towards the Spirit Sea from the outside. The orange-red ripples were like a shuttle-shaped shockwave, as if billions of suns were exploding violently. Wherever that explosion passed, hundreds of millions or even tens of thousands of planes would shatter, and countless living beings and space-time would be reduced to dust. Many experts felt their scalps go numb. The terrifying shockwaves were so vast that the laws of the world were completely flattened. Some godly emperors and godly emperors felt as if their souls had been turned into dust by the terrifying shockwave. Even some of the quasi-world-level powerhouses of the greater thousand-world realm were pale with fright. The surging orange-red shockwave was boundless and vast. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived outside the inner layer of the Spirit Sea. At this moment, the pupils of all the experts in the Spirit Sea constricted, and they felt as if they were suffocating. Just then, outside the inner layer of the Spirit Sea, a black-robed figure appeared silently outside the inner layer of the Spirit Sea. A sparkling and translucent battle sword appeared in his palm. The godly war sword. The godly war sword slashed out, and a sword light appeared outside the inner layer of the Spirit Sea. A white sword light. White light filled the eyes of billions of living beings, and even their eyes seemed to have turned pure white in an instant. A sword light that spanned across the entire universe flew towards the huge orange-red shockwave. There was no earth-shattering sound of collision as expected. Silently, the white sword light swallowed the terrifying orange-red light that permeated the vast void of the universe. Wherever the light passed, the great Tao seemed to wander. Wherever it passed, billions of void planes were destroyed and reborn from the destruction. However, this rebirth could not cover up the destruction of the past. The void that spanned billions of miles became extremely clean. Only a few stubborn planes were left in the barren desert, and there were weeds in 2s and 3s. However, even so, the terrifying power still shocked the billions of living beings in the world. To think that it's this powerful! In the depths of the Resistance's mysterious plane, the mysterious young man's face was extremely gloomy when he saw this scene. To be fair, the impact of the collision between the two upper worlds was something that even he would be severely injured if he were to fall into it. He was confident that even a 16th-level creator saint god would be severely injured in the face of that shockwave. However, the Spirit Sea Overlord had done it so casually. He had cultivated the earth, water, wind, and fire, and turned destruction into creation. Although such a remarkable ability was lifeless, it was earth-shattering in his eyes. In the Spirit Sea, many quasi-world-level powerhouses of the greater thousand-world realm reacted immediately. Their faces twitched, and they swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Their eyes were filled with shock and horror. Where did this upper world come from? Outside the primal chaos, the Doomsday Lord and Pan Lin of the primal chaos noble race were right outside the Spirit Sea. When that foreign upper world suddenly appeared, the Doomsday Lord and Pan Lin were immediately alarmed. The Doomsday Lord was shocked. However, he witnessed with his own eyes that the huge upper world entered the Spirit Sea, and the two crystal walls shattered from the collision. The Doomsday Lord was overjoyed. This is a good chance. His eyes lit up. Now that the two upper worlds had collided, the crystal walls had shattered, and the two upper worlds were entangled with each other. It would definitely create a situation where one was in the other, and the other was in the other. The laws of heaven and earth would entangle and begin to merge, reform, or devour each other until the two upper worlds formed a brand new upper world. However, at the moment of collision, a hole appeared in the crystal walls. Using this opportunity, the Doomsday Lord witnessed the terrifying power of the Spirit Sea Overlord, and his heart skipped a beat. On the other side, Pan Lin of the Primal Chaos noble race was shocked when he saw this scene. The Primal Chaos laws. He actually comprehended a portion of the Primal Chaos law's power so quickly. The Doomsday Lord gloomily glanced at Pan Lin. Comprehending a portion of the Primal Chaos laws was no small matter. In particular, he controlled a upper world. Oh, it was a normal upper world's origin. That was enough to pose a threat to the Doomsday Lord. Especially now, if his true body descended and entered the two colliding worlds, most of his strength would be suppressed. However, this is indeed an excellent opportunity. The two worlds have collided, and that little ant's control of the Spirit Sea has dropped to the lowest. If my true body enters, my strength will drop, but I'll still be far stronger than that little ant. Moreover, as long as I hide for a period of time and familiarize myself with the laws of the upper world, I'll be safe. Little ant, you won't be able to escape this time. When he thought of the huge Doomsday Law's feedback after destroying two upper worlds, greed flashed through the Doomsday Lord's eyes. He instantly made up his mind. Chapter 1595. The Apocalypse Lord glanced at the Spirit Sea. At this time, the Spirit Sea had suddenly barged into another higher realm and was in a stalemate with the other higher realm. The crystal walls of the two shattered and seemed to be connected together like two Siamese twins. However, the Apocalypse Lord could see that the other higher realm that had suddenly barged in was obviously smaller than the Spirit Sea. This time, the fusion, or devouring, would definitely be led by the Spirit Sea. He had to speed up. I hope that the Master God of the other higher realm won't be too useless and be defeated by the primeval beginning Holy God too early. 3 years. I only need 3 years to recover my peak strength and destroy the Spirit Sea in one fell swoop. The Apocalypse Lord's sinister expression flickered. A moment later, he retracted his gaze and looked at Pan Lin. Now that a new higher realm had appeared out of nowhere and broken through the crystal wall of the spiritual sea in advance, the expert of the nobles of chaos seemed to be of no use anymore. Pan Lin instantly felt the Apocalypse Lord's undisguised malice, and all the hair on his body stood on end. "Your Majesty Apocalypse!" He opened his mouth and wanted to call out. At the same time, almost subconsciously, he turned into a gray light and retreated. However, in the next moment, his body froze in the void, and even the words that were about to come out of his mouth could no longer leave his mouth. His eyes were filled with shock and fear. A black-gray aura filled with chaos had already submerged him. Rumble! Within the chaos, a rain of blood poured down, and the Grand Tao wailed. A level 17th stage expert was actually unable to resist the Apocalypse Lord, who was a level 18 primordial chaos holy god. The pitch-black light instantly pierced through and destroyed Pan Lin's body and godhead. Soon after, it turned into a ball of rich life essence that fell into the Apocalypse Lord's body like a waterfall. The Apocalypse Lord sneered coldly, and the aura of doomsday rose sharply from his body. He felt that the moment he destroyed a level 17th stage primordial chaos holy god, the Apocalypse Lord's godhead in his body became even brighter. The fluctuations of his god force caused the chaos within millions of miles to tremble. It was extremely terrifying. The pitch-black light enveloped him, and he viciously and savagely scanned the place where the Spirit Sea intersected with the other higher realm. Obviously, the Spirit Sea was the territory of the primeval saint god, so it was not suitable for him to descend directly. However, the other unfamiliar upper realm was an excellent place. His figure turned into a jet of black flowing light and instantly shot toward the unfamiliar upper realm. In the void, Qin Feng's figure stood above the pitch-black universe. His eyes were fixed on the eastern crystal wall, where a huge hole had been smashed open. The huge hole there was like a huge and boundless black tunnel. One end of the tunnel led directly to another unfamiliar upper realm. The two worlds had already connected, and because of the intense collision, the natural laws of heaven and earth were beginning to fuse. As the ruler of the Spirit Sea, Qin Feng could sense these changes even more clearly. That kind of intense fusion and the mysterious changes in the laws produced were completely comparable to the advancement of the Spirit Sea. Earlier, Immortal Slayer's major world entered the Spirit Sea in the same way, and so did this enormous upper realm. Qin Feng's expression was heavy. There was no doubt that there was a huge secret behind this. It's most likely related to the unknown treasure in the Spirit Sea. Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness, but he soon regained his composure. He looked at the unfamiliar upper realm that had suddenly appeared, and there was a faint trace of heaviness in his eyes. The Doomsday Lord had been lingering outside the chaos of the Spirit Sea, eyeing the Spirit Sea covetously. Now that the two worlds had collided and heaven and earth had changed drastically, the Doomsday Lord would not sit idly by. There was also the Origin Divine World and the experts of the various divine systems around it. I have to completely fuse this unfamiliar upper realm into the Spirit Sea before they realize something is wrong, or just refine it directly. Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a fierce light. The descent of this enormous upper realm was a crisis, but it was also an opportunity. If he could refine this enormous upper realm, he might even be able to transform the 3 flowers of the Great Tao into primordial Tao lotuses in one fell swoop, and he would be able to further control the natural laws of primordial chaos. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feng looked in the direction of the Tunnel of Two Worlds. Through the enormous Tunnel of Two Worlds, there were countless twinkling stars. In the pitch-black universe, these stars had a little bit of vitality. This kind of law was obviously different from the Spirit Sea. Although there were stars in the Spirit Sea, and some stars even gave birth to countless living beings. The main ones were the plains and the origin continent of the Spirit Sea in the center. The unfamiliar universe on the other side was completely different. It was dominated by stars and huge stars that gave birth to life. Moreover, through comparison, the unfamiliar universe on the other side was somewhat desolate. The spiritual energy was almost exhausted. It was like the age of chaos that Qin Feng had influenced. As the two worlds connected and the laws merged, the connate vitality in the unfamiliar universe on the other side had already begun to recover. The collision of two enormous upper realms would produce many unknown changes. With a flash, a flowing light passed through the enormous tunnel of two worlds. In a moment, Qin Feng appeared in the unfamiliar universe on the other side. Rumble! It was as if the entire universe's origin was trembling. Countless thunderclouds floated in the void for hundreds of millions of miles. Lightning flashed wildly, and earth-shattering changes appeared. It was as if a huge monster had barged into an unfamiliar territory. Heaven and earth naturally warned. Surging avatars swept across the starry river. An extraterrestrial expert has barged in. At this moment, in the universe, the huge stars, and even the ancient supreme beings hidden in some dangerous forbidden grounds suddenly woke up from their deep sleep. They felt as if their hair stood on end and they couldn't sit still. As soon as Qin Feng stepped into this unfamiliar universe, he immediately felt a strong sense of discomfort. It was suppressed. The laws of heaven and earth of this universe were extremely hostile to him, treating him as a great enemy. They suppressed him and even manifested heavenly punishment to kill him. His strength had been suppressed to an extremely low level, less than a tenth of his original strength. Qin Feng finally understood how the Time Dragon Lord felt in the past. His expression didn't change. Instead, he smiled slightly. It wasn't that he didn't have a foundation. He raised a hand and an invisible force spewed out from the tunnel of two worlds behind him. The invisible light swept across hundreds of millions of miles of the universe. The terrifying lightning dissipated bit by bit. That was the original power of the Spirit Sea Void Great Cosmos. When the two worlds merged, the power of the Spirit Sea Void Great Cosmos was much stronger than the power of this strange universe. It easily suppressed the heaven's wrath of this strange universe. The shackles on his body were shattered, and the laws of this world could no longer suppress him. Clang! At this moment, a loud bell rang, as if it had come from the end of the river of time. It shattered space and time. An ray of light broke through the sky, holding an immortal bell in his hand. It was a stalwart figure with a heroic appearance. His black hair was thick, and his gaze was wise and far-sighted. It seemed as if it could see through everything, and every single move he made the myriad of Daos in the world tremble and wail before him. His bearing was unparalleled in the world. His eyes were extremely sharp as they locked onto Qin Feng, the extraterrestrial invader. In an instant, surging divine power blasted toward Qin Feng. It's Emperor Wu Shi. Emperor Wu Shi has made his move. He's really not dead. At this moment, in this unfamiliar universe, the supreme beings in several forbidden grounds couldn't help but exclaim when they saw this figure. Chapter 1596. An immortal bell froze time and space, and a palm came crashing down, shattering time and space. It was as if the entire universe was under its control. However, everything froze the moment it arrived in front of Qin Feng. Qin Feng raised a hand and looked at this level 16 greater thousand world realm expert, who was filled with boundless divine might. The difference was too great. Moreover, Qin Feng was not an ordinary 17th level chaotic saint god. He was already half a step into the 18th level. Qin Feng's gaze fell on the incomparably powerful greater world expert that belonged to the strange universe. To be more precise, it was on the body of an incomplete greater thousand world level powerhouse. His eyes were dazzling and charming. The aura that surged from his body was much stronger than that of an ordinary 16th-level world-level saint god. However, who would have thought that this world-level expert was only an incomplete product? The strange universe was in an uproar. In various ancient lands and forbidden lands, many ancient experts were shocked. The dignified heavenly emperor Wu Shi was suppressed by the foreign invader with a single move. Wu Shi, I'm here to help you. In the distance, magical power surged and peerless. A ray of white light broke through the sky. It was dark and oppressive. A ray of black light broke through the sky as if it could refine the universe. A peerless female existence in white broke through the sky and arrived. Another world-class expert of the great thousand worlds emerged. Her battle strength was not inferior to that of the previous expert that dragged the immortal bell. The innate laws are incomplete. Although I can control the innate laws, I'm still an incomplete product. Qin Feng shook his head. The supreme divine technique above his head turned into a ray of white light and swept across. The strange female heavenly emperor and the peerless expert that dragged the immortal bell were suddenly sealed. Countless rays of white light pierced through the two experts' flesh and blood, sealing them in place. Only their eyes could move. Heavenly Emperor Ruthless is also suppressed. At this moment, in the entire universe, in countless ancient lands and forbidden lands, countless living beings and experts were shocked. The entire universe was silent. This had completely overturned their understanding of the universe. Emperor No Beginning and Emperor Ruthless were peerless existences who had suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 earths for countless years. They were the ultimate experts of that universe, and were rumored to have surpassed the Emperor realm. Peerless immortals who had comprehended the rules of immortal Tao were the most powerful individuals in history. Qin Feng looked at the various parts of the universe and sensed the vaguely tyrannical auras emerging from the various ancient lands and forbidden lands. He had originally thought that after suppressing these 2 strongest existences, the entire universe would become peaceful. But in the next moment, rumble! Countless powerful auras soared into the sky from the ancient lands, forbidden lands, and ominous lands. It was as if a dormant volcano had suddenly been awakened and erupted. Resist the alien enemy, kill! Kill! It's our duty to resist the enemy. As streams of ancient auras soared into the sky, countless streams of auras appeared like flowing lights, rushing toward the tunnel of the 2 worlds. Some decaying auras were awakening. It was the ancient sovereign who had indulged himself for ages. At the forefront was a young man in a golden emperor's robe. Behind him, countless ancient soldiers were awakened from their sleep. Some of the ancient factions recognized the origins of the millions of people on that side. They were the people of the heavenly court, a major faction that had existed for countless years. Their leader was the most legendary celestial emperor Yi Fan, who had lived for 9 generations. Behind him were his children, disciples, and old friends. The sacred prince, Dao Yi Zhang Byron, Six-Eared Macaque, Yi Tong, Yang Shi, Hua Hua, Jiang Tingting, Shen Hua, and Yi Xian were all ancient great emperors. There were also Pang Bo, Zhang Wenchang, Zhang Xiling, Tu Fei, Li Heishui, Dongfang Yi, Li Yao, Yan Yishi, and others. There were also the most ancient experts of the past, such as Longma, Wang Shu, Lei Bo, Ji Qingdao, Shao Keir Xiaojiu, and others. They had been sleeping, waiting for the path of immortality to open. As the alien experts descended, they felt that this world was under great threat and woke up again. There were also experts from various ancient sacred lands. The Yaoguang Sacred Land, the Big Dipper Sacred Land, and Ji Haoyue of the Ji family. The appearance of the overwhelming number of experts affected countless major factions. Experts from the entire universe gathered and rushed towards the tunnel of 2 worlds. Everyone's faces were solemn, and their killing intent tainted the void universe. Dark clouds rolled. We've poked a hornet's nest. We've actually aroused the hatred of a common enemy? Qin Feng was slightly surprised, but then smiled faintly. Although there were many experts, they were basically no threat to him. Except for the two people at the front, the legendary Celestial Emperor Yi Fan of the Shrouding Sky world, and the Sacred Emperor. Celestial Emperor Yi could become an incomplete 16th level world level expert at any time, and the other one was about the same. The other experts were merely quasi-world level experts of the Greater Thousand World. Everyone, can you listen to me first? Qin Feng directly spoke with his divine consciousness, and his voice reverberated throughout the universe. With the actions of the two great emperors suppressing no sure and ruthless before, the moment his voice fell, it carried a great weight. Even though countless forces on the other side of the void had long regarded Qin Feng as a mortal enemy, they could not help but stop. Many experts gathered in front of the tunnel of two worlds. Many experts looked at each other, and the strongest leader, Celestial Emperor Yi Fan of the Heavenly Court, walked out and looked straight at Qin Feng. "Who are you?" Yi Fan's expression was a little solemn. This extraterrestrial expert who had suddenly appeared was too terrifying. Both Great Emperor No Sure and Ruthless attacked at the same time, but they were easily suppressed by him. Qin Feng did not answer directly. Everyone should be very clear that now that the void of two worlds has collided unexpectedly, the two worlds have been torn apart at the same time. The fusion is imperative. Since it's a fusion, naturally there will be a universe leading it. I'm Qin Feng, the god of creation of the Spirit Sea universe. You should now understand why I'm here. God of creation? The experts of the Shrouding Sky universe looked at each other, and they found a touch of shock and horror in each other's eyes. No wonder he was so powerful. Immediately after, he was shocked by the information revealed in his word. The Shrouding Sky universe was merging with another universe. Previously, the earth-shaking fluctuations were not only felt by the Spirit Sea universe, but also by many experts of the Shrouding Sky universe. You want to lead your own universe to devour the universe that we live in? Yi Fan frowned and vaguely understood a little bit of what was going on. However, as soon as this statement came out, it was no less than throwing 10,000 tons of gunpowder into a calm lake. Many experts of the Shrouding Sky universe looked at Qin Feng, and their eyes sharpened. He is indeed the son of Providence of the Shrouding Sky universe. Qin Feng thought to himself, but his expression did not change. This is inevitable. The rules of heaven and earth in your universe are incomplete. Without the existence of gods and demons, it is difficult for all living beings to live forever. Qin Feng looked indifferent. As soon as his voice fell, he saw the expressions of many experts of the Shrouding Sky universe begin to change. Qin Feng hoped to persuade these experts of the Shrouding Sky universe to peacefully transition. If he could persuade these peerless experts of the Shrouding Sky universe to refine it, the time it would take would be even shorter. If a big fight broke out, it would be easy to complicate things. Yi Fan was also frowning. He had sensed this long ago. Unlike your broken universe, my Spirit Sea's laws of heaven and earth are complete. There are countless innate gods and gods. Mortals who break through to the immortal realm will be immortal. They will be as old as the sun and the moon and as old as the heaven and earth. As for the quasi-world level experts of the Greater Thousand Realms, your emperor-level existences, they will be able to control a part of the laws of heaven and earth. They will not die from a single drop of blood, and their souls will not be destroyed. You can live forever after breaking through to the God realm? An emperor-level expert can control the boundless plains? There was a commotion among the experts of the many forces of the Shrouding Sky universe, especially some of the ancient practitioners who were about to die. Their expressions changed, and a trace of fire in their eyes could not be concealed. Yi Fan was a little moved. As a heavenly emperor, he had the ability to control the world, but he still could not protect the people around him from aging, decaying, and withering. Chapter 1597. Even the immortal divine herbs in his hands could only extend the lifespan of his relatives and friends. One day they would leave him. He had imagined countless times whether he could find a place of immortality in the immortal world so that his relatives, disciples, and veterans of the heavenly court could live forever. But in just a moment, Yi Fan's expression returned to normal. Your Excellency thinks that by using immortality as bait, you can persuade us to betray our home territory. Although we can't live forever, we are willing to defend our home territory with our broken bodies and live with the mountains and rivers. Behind him, many experts also reacted in a moment. Perhaps it was because they couldn't live forever, or because of the blessing of the shrouding universe, but the experts of the shrouding universe were far more resilient than the experts of the spirit sea. Many experts of the shrouding universe were full of fighting spirit. No, you probably misunderstood. You are far from being my opponent. Even if all of you join forces, you can't withstand one blow from me. Qin Feng shook his head slightly. As he spoke, he raised a hand and suddenly struck fiercely in the direction of the desolate and deathly silent dark region in the distance. Boom! It was as if heaven and earth were falling apart, and the ancient and modern were collapsing. The vast and silent starfield instantly cracked and turned into powder. But then Qin Feng's divine thought moved and a white light flew out. Countless shattered starfield fragments reconstructed the earth, water, wind, and fire in the white light, turning into the 8 trigrams and reappearing one after another. The most shocking thing was that the star domain, which had been deathly silent before, had actually given birth to life after the great calamity. Moreover, it was an extremely pure life force. Many experts of the shrouding universe could even see that many divine materials were being born among the earth, water, wind, and fire, and countless spirit mountains and blessed lands were being reconstructed. Seeing this scene, many experts of the shrouding universe fell silent. Their faces were aghast, and the shock that had not completely dissipated before surged again in their hearts. Yi Fan may not be able to destroy a huge starfield as easily as the god of creation in front of him, but after a few blows, he could still do it. But to refine the earth, water, wind, and fire, and reverse the death and destruction of the starfield, this was beyond Yi Fan's imagination. Qin Feng said, "I'm just telling you the benefits of merging with the spirit sea. I'm not saying that you have the ability to defeat the spirit sea. Forget it." Qin Feng waved his hand behind him. Countless streams of light flew out from behind the tunnel. After the 2 worlds, under the leadership of the earthly emperor Wang Daoi, the 8 divisions, 8 celestial venerables, and many emperor gods, many experts of the divine system started to move after they received the message from Qin Feng. Countless streams of light and billions of extremely powerful auras rushed out of the tunnel like a waterfall of stars. In the blink of an eye, they covered the front of the tunnel. 10 times, even 100 times more experts flew out. This shocking scene caused Yi Fan, the Saint Emperor, and the others' expressions to change drastically. At the same time, a suffocating pressure pressed down on everyone's hearts. There were countless experts. Not only were there immortal realm experts, but there were also great emperors and quasi-world level experts. The number of them was more than 10 times that of the crowd. At that moment, even someone as tough as Yi Fan felt a chill run through his body when he saw this scene. So many innate saint spirits and even innate god spirits? Some of the saint spirits in shrouding universe looked at the army in shock. Among the countless experts in the spirit sea, the innate saint spirits were the weakest. There were countless innate god spirits, innate deity kings, innate deity emperors, and even a few innate celestial monarchs. Innate beings were already celestial monarchs. This was beyond the imagination of the shrouding universe's experts. There are so many ancient divine beasts? On the other side, some of the ancient experts such as Huaqilin, Sun ancient sovereign of the Golden Crow race, and some of the dragon experts were also shocked. Inside the huge square formation, There were many banners of the ancient divine beast clan's experts. This was especially true for the experts of the dragon race. Millions of divine dragons revealed their true bodies. Their race was so powerful that only a portion of the ancient experts in the shrouding heaven universe's dragon blood had become thinner. The same went for Huachilin and the Golden Crow expert. The hundreds of thousands of Chilins roared, and the Golden Crows soared, stirring their bloodline and making them want to roar at the sky. Qin Feng's gaze landed on the two great thousand-world realm expert. With a wave of his sleeves, a formless energy spread out. Heavenly Emperor Wu Shi and Heavenly Emperor Ruthless immediately recovered their godforce. They then appeared beside Yi Fan. Yi Fan glanced at the two beautiful worldly fairies. If it were any other time, he would be overjoyed to see them. But now, he felt helpless and desolate. He looked at the two worldly fairies indifferently. The two crippled 16th-level worldly experts posed no threat to Qin Feng. Qin Feng said to the crowd with an indifferent expression, "Actually, you don't have to be so conflicted. Although the Spirit Sea is merging with your universe, the Spirit Sea divine system has no intention of enslaving anyone. Moreover, the merging of the two realms means that you should be a part of the Spirit Sea. Your races and forces can live freely in this universe. Moreover, as I said earlier, the merging of the two realms will change the laws of heaven and earth. This will be beneficial to your universe as well. The barren acquired spiritual energy will be replaced by innate spiritual energy. The energy of life will spread throughout the universe, and the experts who have reached the end of their lifespans will be reborn. As for you," Qin Feng's gaze landed on Heavenly Monarch Wu Shi, Heavenly Monarch Vicious, Yi Fan, and the others. "You crippled worldly experts will also be able to complete the laws that you have mastered. You will have the foundation to advance to the 17th level. The 17th level." Wu Shi, who had been cold all this while, suddenly looked at Qin Feng. "Is this the level that you're at?" Tilting his head, Qin Feng looked at the heroic and peerless great emperor and nodded. Then, he shook his head and chuckled. "Indeed, this is the level that I'm at. However, I've already started to surpass it," Qin Feng said again. "If you're willing to join the Spirit Sea, the next level of breakthrough and the secret techniques of the various realms will be open to you." Wu Shi Great Monarch and Ruthless Great Monarch looked at each other and remained silent. "All of you are peerless geniuses and the most powerful experts in your respective universes. The Spirit Sea divine system thirsts for talents and respects the strong. If you're willing to join the Spirit Sea divine system, we will treat you with the greatest sincerity. We will directly rank you as the 3rd, 4th, and 5th holy god. Furthermore, the Spirit Sea divine system will personally allocate 1,000,000 realms to you as places for your disciples and relatives to settle down. I can also make an exception and help you once. For example, I can help you revive your loved ones and disciples who have died in the passage of time." As he said this, Qin Feng's gaze quietly landed on Ruthless. Chapter 1598. Sure enough, Ruthless' expression changed slightly. Although he was still silent, his cold expression eased a lot. Qin Feng knew that Ruthless had a very sad past before he attained the Tao. Even after he attained the Tao, he had always been brooding over the matter of the Yuhua God dynasty in the past. He tried his best to think of ways to revive her brother. Yi Fan's appearance was somewhat similar to her brother's, which was why she had a good impression of him. "Also, Yi Fan, are you from a place called Earth?" Qin Feng turned around. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Yi Fan, Pang Bo, Zhang Wenchang, and many other powerhouses changed slightly. "You know about Earth?" Yi Fan frowned and asked. Qin Feng didn't answer directly. "Yi Fan, your cultivation has reached such a realm. You are about to break through to the 16th level of the Great Thousand Worlds, which is also the mortal-immortal realm of your universe. In this universe, your cultivation will reach the end. Don't you want to go out and see the outside world? Qin Feng said indifferently. I've been to the real, untainted world. The three pristines, Amitabha, Kundi Buddha, Emperor Enviwa and Hongjun are all real. Don't you want to compete with these mythical beings? The primordial world really exists? Before Yi Fan could speak, Pang Bo's eyes lit up. Qin Feng smiled. He understood the feelings of these powerhouses who were born on Earth very well. If one day they could travel to the North Sea and Kangwu continent and talk about the Tao with the powerhouses of the ancient primordial world, they might not have lived in vain. That's right. The primordial world really exists somewhere in the chaos and is quite powerful. The three pure ones, Amitabha and Mother Buddha, are all level 18 primordial chaos holy gods. There's also Tang Sanzang in Journey to the West. He has now become the Buddha of immeasurable merit and is a level 16 innate Buddha Lord. Qin Feng landed on Yi Fan. Yi Fan, to a certain extent, you are about to reach the height of some top mythical figures. Yi Fan's expression didn't change, but it was obvious that the killing intent in his heart had gradually relaxed. On the other side, Pang Bo's dark green eyes flickered with a trace of surprise. Wasn't Tripitaka the Buddha of sandalwood merit after he became a Buddha? How did he become a Buddha? Is there a Buddhist sect in the great desolate world? A young monk ran out. That was a handsome little monk. His palms were pressed together, and everything about him was delicate and pretty. However, Qin Feng did not underestimate him. This little monk was the ruler of Buddhism in Shrouded Heaven Universe. He was a Buddhist great emperor who was about to be given the title of Buddha. Of course there are. Buddhism and Taoism are parallel. 12 powerful Buddha lords have been born in Buddhism. I am the 12th innate creation Buddha Lord. Qin Feng didn't hide anything. The three Sariras appeared on top of his head, and the divine power in his body was slightly transformed into boundless and pure holy light of Buddha. In the light of Buddha, there were sounds of Zen chants, and the fragrance of bliss wafted through the air. It was as if billions of bodhisattvas had descended from the light of Buddha. In Shrouding Heaven Universe, many experts from Earth were shocked. This was actually a Buddha from the great desolate world. The expressions of Yi Fan and the others eased a lot. In the eyes of many experts from Earth, an expert from the great desolate world was quite valuable. How do you feel now? Qin Feng smiled slightly. Can you give us a moment to discuss? Yi Fan said with a gloomy expression. There was no point in fighting at the moment. The Spirit Sea was much stronger than their universe. However, even if they wanted to integrate into the Spirit Sea and become a part of it, there were rules. Qin Feng nodded slightly. Immediately, Great Emperor No Beginning, Great Emperor Ruthless, Yi Fan, and the Supremes of the Great Forbidden Lands in Shrouded Heaven Universe began to gather together to discuss. Looking at this scene, Qin Feng quietly breathed a sigh of relief. In this way, it would be best if they could peacefully transition. These experts were born from the Qi of Heaven and Earth of the Shrouded Heaven Universe. Accepting this group of experts was almost equivalent to refining half of the Shrouded Heaven Universe in one fell swoop, and also retaining the largest part of the essence and creation of the Shrouded Heaven Universe. This was good for both universes. If they were destroyed by force, not only would it reduce the potential of the Shrouded Heaven Universe, but it would also delay the process of refining the Shrouded Heaven Universe. In the Shrouded Heaven Universe, in a starfield that was about to be destroyed, the Apocalypse Lord looked in the direction of the two-world tunnel with a gloomy expression. 3 years. He only needed 3 years to completely break free from the suppression of this universe. He would destroy the Spirit Sea and this universe in one fell swoop. Who would have thought that not only 3 years, but 3 months, not even 3 days, the experts of this universe had decided to surrender in just 1 day. The Apocalypse Lord's expression was gloomy. Suddenly, he looked in the direction of the two-world tunnel with a murderous glint in his eyes. Rumble! In an instant, a terrifying grayish-black ancient spear appeared in his hand. The huge ancient spear erupted with a terrifying wave, sweeping horizontally and vertically. In an instant, several starfields with life were turned into dust. The Apocalypse Lord's eyes flashed with a murderous glint. If he couldn't get it, the Spirit Sea Overlord wouldn't be able to either. At the same time, hundreds of terrifying ancient spear shadows swept toward Yi Fan and the others. A large patch of black light was tainted with the aura of doomsday. Wherever it passed, countless starfields exploded. It was going to bury Yi Fan, Heavenly Emperor No Beginning, Heavenly Emperor Ruthless, and the others. Yi Fan, Heavenly Emperor No Beginning, and Heavenly Emperor Ruthless were the first to feel the terrifying wave. Their expressions changed drastically. However, under the terrifying aura of doomsday, it was as if the entire universe was being torn apart. Although they had a certain amount of power to protect themselves, they were still insignificant. If that attack landed, the three of them might be able to keep their lives. However, the millions of soldiers gathered together and the Spirit Sea's army would be buried with them. As expected, they couldn't help but jump out. As if he was prepared, Qin Feng instantly appeared in front of the many experts of the shrouded heaven universe. He raised a hand and pointed his finger. A speck of light flew out, and an ancient book with a faint purplish hue suddenly appeared in the central universe's void. Faint purplish light scattered across the void. It was the Khanate Spiritual Treasure Universe book. The Khanate Space Law erupted. Hundreds of ancient spear shadows slammed into the ancient purplish book. Like a myriad of streams returning to the origin, the book's pages flickered with black gas. However, after a moment, there were no more ripples. The universe book contained a void universe. When the Apocalypse Lord's ancient spear slammed into the void universe, it was completely dissolved by the void universe. Khanate Spiritual Treasure. The Apocalypse Lord's face twitched when he saw the ancient book. Apocalypse Lord, it's impolite not to reciprocate. Take this. Qin Feng sneered. He pointed his finger again, and the Khanate Universe book shone brightly. It turned into a purplish heavenly river that swept toward the Apocalypse Lord. The vast purplish-gray light filled half of the vast universe and submerged the Apocalypse Lord. Chapter 1599. Boom! A terrifying crack was torn open in shrouding heaven universe. With a flash of black light, Apocalypse Lord's figure disappeared. At this moment, he was in a miserable state. Below his knee, a layer of purplish-gray light swept past and turned it into ashes. There was also a layer of purplish-gray light lingering around the wound, making it difficult to heal. Lord Ling Hai, you are lucky to have encountered a crippled upper realm. However, I will keep an eye on you. One day, you will die in my hands. With a venomous curse, Apocalypse Lord disappeared in a flash of black light. He broke through shrouding heaven universe and left. Qin Feng looked at this scene indifferently and a trace of regret flashed in his eyes. A rank 18 expert was too strong. Even if he was suppressed by shrouding heaven universe and had less than a tenth of his strength left, he still couldn't defeat him. This time, the Doomsday Lord had escaped again. This was a huge problem. A ticking time bomb. He stretched out a hand and the purplish-gray light flowed back into Qin Feng's palm like a heavenly river. The purplish-gray light flickered and turned into a scroll. Innate Universe Scroll. Wuxi Heavenly Monarch, Ruthless Heavenly Monarch, Yi Fan, and the others looked at this scene from afar and were shocked. Although Creator Ling Hai and the unknown expert only exchanged a single blow, the power of that blow was so strong that even if the three of them joined forces, they would still be like ants. The three of them looked at the scroll in Lord Ling Hai's hand. This supreme treasure's power was probably stronger than any Apex Monarch weapon. Qin Feng looked at the torn universe. In just a moment, the huge crack was quickly mended under shrouding heaven universe's laws of heaven and earth. However, it would take a long time for the destroyed universe to recover. Everyone, have you found something? The innate universe scroll entered his body, and Qin Feng appeared in front of the many experts in Shrouding Heaven universe. Dressed in a black robe and with long hair, he looked like a god. With the momentum of defeating the enemy, Qin Feng gave Shrouding Heaven universe's experts a huge pressure. The experts from Shrouded Sky universe looked at each other. In the end, Yi Fan stepped forward. Yi Fan's hair was thick and long like a waterfall. His bronze skin made him look like a peerless emperor. We can join the Spirit Sea, but we have 3 conditions. Please speak. Qin Feng smiled. As long as the experts of the Shrouded Sky universe were willing to join the Spirit Sea, he had enough patience. Firstly, we need 10,000 years to reorganize. In the next 10,000 years, I hope the forces of the Spirit Sea won't enter the other universe. Qin Feng looked at Yi Fan in surprise. He had some understanding of Yi Fan's thoughts. Yi Fan probably wanted to take advantage of the 10,000 years to reorganize the Shrouding Heaven universe or speed up the cultivation process so that he could be qualified to fight against the other experts of the Spirit Sea God system. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feng nodded. Sure. Secondly, we hope that the Spirit Sea can open up some of its cultivation techniques to us in advance. As soon as he said that, the many experts behind Yi Fan became restless. Their eyes were blazing. The cultivation techniques of a world were the essence of the cultivation system of a world. For many experts of the Shrouded Sky universe who were stuck in a bottleneck, this was undoubtedly the key to opening the door to a new world. For Yi Fan, with the cultivation techniques of a different world, the experts of his universe would not be at a disadvantage in terms of integrating the laws of a different world. Qin Feng smiled slightly. It's reasonable. Thirdly, help us resurrect some of our old friends who died in the long river of time. When he said this, Yi Fan took a deep breath. His heart was a little heavy. To reach this step, not only him, but also Wu Shi Heavenly Emperor and Ruthless Heavenly Emperor had paid an extremely heavy price. In the long river of time, too many old friends had been killed by time. Qin Feng smiled. This was even less of a problem. As long as the Shrouded Sky universe was incorporated into the Spirit Sea, even if they had fallen for countless years, as long as the traces of the birth of these existences in the river of time, he could reverse the flow of time and resurrect them. With the 3 conditions agreed, Yi Fan, Wu Shi Heavenly Emperor, and Ruthless Heavenly Emperor dispersed the gathered experts of the Shrouded Sky universe. Qin Feng felt that as the hearts of the people of the Shrouded Sky universe surrendered, the speed of refining the Shrouded Sky universe increased countless times. Although there were still some people who were hostile. For example, the Immortal Phoenix clan of the Immortal Emperor, who was hiding in the dark, and another mortal immortal. But they could no longer resist the general trend. If the Immortal Emperor who was hiding in the dark dared to come out, he did not mind helping Yi Fan and the others get rid of this big trouble completely. Rumble. Billowing fortunes were born from the origin and merged into Qin Feng, the ruler of the Spirit Sea. In an instant, the 4th strand had already merged with the ordinary primordial violet qi, and the 5th and 6th strands of primordial violet qi merged with the 3 flowers of Tao. As the 4th, 5th, and 6th strands of primordial violet qi merged with the Tao lotus, Qin Feng felt the surging divine power in his body shrink by more than 10 times, gradually turning into a strange divine power with a faint primordial aura. At the same time, more fortunes poured out of the refined Shrouded Sky universe and fell into the depths of Qin Feng's head. The 7th strand of primordial violet qi slowly merged with Qin Feng's 2nd flower of Tao. Qin Feng's expression didn't change. This change was formless. It was like the wind and clouds hiding in the dragon abyss. A strange light flashed in Qin Feng's eyes. Next, he would look for the 8th and 9th strands of primordial violet qi. Qin Feng placed more hope in the Shrouded Sky universe. But Qin Feng knew that the possibility of this was not very high. The shrouded sky universe's laws were broken, and its origin was like the setting sun, like a severely injured middle-aged man. Perhaps the shrouded sky universe used to be very powerful, but it was unknown whether it encountered an external enemy or internal strife. The laws of heaven and earth were broken, and there were deep scars in its origin. Qin Feng had noticed this from the first time he saw this universe. There were a total of 8 innate laws. The shrouded sky universe's foundation was obviously stronger than the spirit seas, but in the end its strength was so weak that even some inhabited starfields were drying up. Thousands of races were withering, and the number of cultivators was decreasing. Whether or not the primordial violet chi existed in the shrouded sky universe, he would have to wait until the shrouded sky universe was completely refined before he could find the answer. With this thought in mind, Qin Feng looked at the 3 most famous great emperors in this universe: Wu Shi Great Emperor, Ruthless Great Emperor, and Celestial Emperor Yi. Are you interested in going to the Spirit Sea? Wu Shi Great Emperor, Ruthless Great Emperor, and Celestial Emperor Yi were a little moved, but they still had some scruples. Qin Feng understood and smiled. Don't worry, even if you leave the other universe, some people won't dare to touch your people. Chapter 1600. In the immortal realm, in the deepest part of the shrouding universe, immortal chi surged. Standing in the immortal realm, the immortal emperor took a deep breath. His eyes filled with shock and anger. Although he was just in front of the tunnel of 2 worlds, Qin Feng's words seemed to have appeared directly in his ears, faintly carrying the power of thunder, as if they could obliterate him at any time. The other ancient expert was also horrified. He was a mortal immortal hiding in the deepest part of a forbidden land. He was an ancient supreme who had transformed several times. He had plotted several times, and many great emperors and supremes had died in his hands. He was Di Zun, the 9th of the 9 celestial sovereigns. He had lived a second life and had broken through to become a mortal immortal, incomplete 16th level. He was the biggest mastermind in the shrouding universe. For a long time, he had been plotting to refine the immortal realm and the human realm, trying to refine the universe and all living things in the world into a cauldron. Di Zun thought he had hidden it very well, but he was still exposed by Qin Feng. His face darkened. Qin Feng looked at him coldly. The immortal emperor was fine, but this person was trying to refine the immortal realm and the human realm, which was a taboo. There could only be one master in the entire shrouding universe. If this person knew what was good for him, he would let it go. If not, he would not mind killing him. As if sensing this, Emperor No Shi, Emperor Ruthless, and Yi Fan looked at each other. Yi Fan nodded. Since your majesty is so kind, it would be impolite of us to refuse. Yi Fan, me too. There was a loud bang, as if a barrier between heaven and earth had been forcibly blasted through. A black robe flashed, and countless life and death chi lingered around. An extremely powerful mortal immortal was born. Duanda, didn't I tell you to hide in the dark to deal with Di Zun? Yi Fan frowned when he saw the mortal immortal. The immortal light appeared in front of the tunnel of 2 worlds in the blink of an eye. The mortal immortal who reached Tao with the innate rules of life and death, the lord of the underworld, Emperor Ming of the 9 celestial sovereigns. Qin Feng looked at the mortal immortal who had suddenly appeared. He was also an extremely legendary figure. He was an important ally of Heavenly Monarch No Beginning, Heavenly Monarch Ruthless, and Yi Fan. Lord of the Spirit Sea, may I know if you're willing to let me join you? This worldly immortal was wearing a Taoist robe. He looked like a supreme Taoist, but when he spoke, there was a hint of wretchedness in his tone. Of course you're welcome. Qin Feng smiled. Although these mundane immortals were incomplete 16th-level immortal martial cultivators, as long as the two realms merged and the natural laws were completed, they would instantly break through and become 16th level immortal Tao Saint Gods. Did you see that, ye brat? With His Majesty Ling Hai here, do you think that Brat Di Zun can still fuse the immortal region and the human realm? As Duanda spoke, he looked at Qin Feng with a smirk. Qin Feng smiled faintly. Seeing Qin Feng smile without saying anything, Duanda rolled his eyes and said, "Your Majesty, since I've joined you, how will I be treated? I'll create the underworld in the other universe. You'll be the leader of the billions of ghosts and deities in the underworld. Also, I'll give you 1,000,000 realms in the Spirit Sea. What do you think?" Qin Feng smiled faintly. Well said, ha ha! Duanda laughed. Emperor Ming. Di Zun's heart turned cold when he saw Duanda. A hint of fear appeared in his heart. Back then, he had been jointly attacked, but he hadn't really been killed. Instead, he had been planning something earth-shattering. He had been refining a world cauldron. It was an item of world origin that he had found by chance. He had hoped to use it to become a world cauldron, a giant cauldron that could contain all living beings and billions of creations. Then, he would be able to transcend. All these years, he had been doing this secretly. With the immortal emperor leading the way, there was a high chance that he would be able to swallow the entire world and make it his own. He didn't expect Emperor Wu Shi, Emperor Ruthless Yi Fan, and the others to not only find out, but also to plant such a terrifying secret weapon. Emperor Ming, Duanda, used to be his master and the creator of the underworld. Now that he had reincarnated 9 times, he had become a mortal immortal. His strength was terrifying. If he were to ambush him at a critical moment, he would be in grave danger. The immortal emperor's face turned pale. Emperor Wu Shi had been looking for trouble with him. In the past, he didn't fear Emperor Wu Shi because he had the help of another mortal immortal. But now, mortal immortals who were on the same side as Emperor Wu Shi had appeared one after another. First, there was Emperor Ruthless, then Yi Fan, and now Emperor Ming, Duanda. "Let's go." Qin Feng nodded with a smile on his face. He was in a good mood. Yi Fan and the other 3 mortal immortals had joined the Spirit Sea Divine System. It could be said that the Spirit Sea Divine System's strength had greatly improved. It could be said that they had completely caught up with some of the older divine systems. Rumble. Suddenly, everyone looked up like a clap of thunder. The tunnel of 2 worlds was expanding bit by bit. The 2 worlds had been like a gourd, but as the tunnel expanded, the center of the gourd seemed to melt. Is the 2 worlds merging further? Duanda narrowed his eyes. Formless black and white, immortal light of life and death swirled around him, displaying his Tao and law. Invisibly, a giant tree branch extended from the depths of the tunnel. It grew extremely quickly and soon broke open the tunnel, turning a large area where the 2 worlds intersected into chaos. Then a second, third, fourth, one by one, the branches sank into shrouded universe. It was incomparably verdant, embellished with life and surging with essence. Everywhere it passed, a part of the starfields near the tunnel of 2 worlds in the shrouded universe recovered their vitality. This is... Sensing the dense aura of life, the 4 mortal immortals were taken aback. This is the Chaos World Tree, the backbone that supports the heavens and earth. Qin Feng's eyes flashed thoughtfully. As the Chaos World Tree entered shrouded universe, a part of the universe's structure was approaching the Spirit Sea's planar pattern. However, it was conceivable that even if shrouded universe merged with the Spirit Sea, a true core would be born. Just like the Spirit Sea prime material world in the inner layer of the Spirit Sea. When the time came, 2 other wonders of the prime material world might appear. The World Tree. Emperor No Beginning, Emperor Ruthless, Yi Fan, and Duanda were all shocked. The World Tree, the backbone that supported the heavens and earth, was a legendary divine tree. It wasn't just the 4 mortal immortals. Many powerhouses, sovereigns, and immortal emperors saw the descent of the World Tree. However, what gave the sovereigns, immortal emperors, and another mortal immortal the deepest insight wasn't the melting of countless stars or the incubation of life. It was another drastic change that could split the heavens and earth. Chapter 1601. The trunk was like a dragon diving into the shrouding universe. The branches and leaves on the trunk turned into invisible veins. The branches and leaves were planes, and wherever they passed, countless starfields would suddenly disappear. They didn't disappear completely, but were shrouded by the tree trunk and the planes of leaves. They became invisible, more hidden, and more powerful. When Qin Feng, Emperor Wu Shi, Emperor Ruthless, Duanda, Yi Fan, and the others passed through the shrouding universe, the Chaos World Tree naturally generated a powerful spatial force at the Tunnel of Two Worlds, camouflaging and blocking the Tunnel of Two Worlds. The Tunnel of Two Worlds disappeared at a visible rate. However, Emperor Wu Shi, Emperor Ruthless, Duanda, Yi Fan, and the others could clearly sense that the Tunnel of Two Worlds was still there, but it was concealed by the Chaos World Tree's spatial force. The Chaos World Tree's ability had already surpassed that of ordinary 16th-level world-class expert. After entering the Spirit Sea, the four worldly immortals felt a little uncomfortable. The terrifying precepts of heaven and earth in the void suppressed them, as if their divine power was imprisoned. Their strength was even less than 100%. Just by sensing it a little, one would be able to sense the vast and boundless power within it. The precepts of heaven and earth were 10 times more compact and powerful than the shrouding universe. When you leave this world and enter any foreign realm, your strength will be suppressed. However, the stronger you are, the better you can adapt to this. This is especially true for those 19th-level experts who have completely mastered the divine laws of origin. Qin Feng said. The four worldly immortals nodded and quietly comprehended the mysteries. They gathered the precepts of heaven and earth of their own universes and comprehended the mysteries of the divine laws of myriad worlds. After getting used to it, they looked around and saw a boundless group of planes. There were countless living beings in the planes, and the cultivation civilization was flourishing. Even the four worldly immortals, who had seen a lot, were shocked from the bottom of their hearts. Any one of the planes in the group was comparable to the Big Dipper starfield and Z-Way starfield of the shrouding universe. The vitality and number of experts were beyond imagination. When they were in the Tunnel of Two Worlds, the four worldly immortals had seen the huge number of connate gods in the Spirit Sea. Only after arriving in this world did they realize that it was only 1/10,000th of this world. In the distance, a part of the Heavenly Court's army had yet to leave the Tunnel of Two Worlds. Your Majesty! Several powerful beings surrounded by the aura of natural spirit wood flew out of the leaf plane on one side of the Chaos World Tree. They were God Emperors from the Spirit Clan. The Divine Tree Manor will deploy 1,000,000 heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals to seal off the place where the Tunnel of the Two Worlds intersects. No one is allowed to enter the other universe for 10,000 years. Qin Feng said calmly. Yes, Your Majesty. Several spirit race God Emperors bowed. The God Emperors turned and left. A moment later, the spirit race army flew out of the Chaos World Tree's countless branches and leaves. Countless vines circled the area, spanning across the Milky Way and sealing off the area. On the vines, many spirit race experts' divine kingdoms were like flower buds on the vines. The four worldly fairies were shocked. They could clearly see that this seal was extremely terrifying. Even a 16th-order powerhouse would find it extremely difficult to break through. This was a way to fight with the Chaos World Tree. With the support of the Chaos World Tree, it was extremely terrifying. At the same time, the eyes of the four worldly immortals flashed with a strange light. They could see that most of these experts' true forms were divine trees, spirit herbs, or spirit vines. If this had happened in the universe where they came from, many experts would have charged forward and taken their true forms. One had to know that the powerful spirit herbs could be used to refine pills, while the divine trees and spirit vines could be used to refine life ritual artifacts or even as clan treasures. Qin Feng seemed to have seen the strange looks in the four worldly immortals' eyes. He smiled faintly. Everyone, don't underestimate the spirit race. Although they're envied by many due to their unique origins, their combat strength isn't weak. Moreover, they're one of the top 3 races in the Spirit Sea. They're known for their great unity. Any expert who dares to steal from them will have to suffer the wrath of their entire race. Qin Feng smiled as soon as he finished speaking. Moreover, they're one of the servant races of the Chaos World Tree. With the Chaos World Tree's protection, they're all much stronger than ordinary experts of the same level. They're very difficult to deal with. The 4 worldly immortals looked at each other. Yifan said, I can see that they're on the same side as the Chaos World Tree. That's... Emperor Wu Shi suddenly spoke up. The 4 worldly immortals looked in the direction of the voice and sensed several enormous worlds in the depths of the plain. They were like cranes in a flock of chickens among the other planes. The Great Thousand Worlds? Yifan's eyes flashed with a strange look. The 4 worldly immortals' expressions changed. The Great Thousand Worlds were also known as the Immortal Realms in the Shrouded Universe. It was a place that many experts in the human realm sought to ascend to. In the periphery, there were several huge immortal realms that they knew. They were dazzling and dazzling. There was only one immortal realm in the Shrouded Universe, and it was a broken one. The 4 worldly immortals were most interested in the Immortal Slayer Great World. The power of the Immortal Path revealed there shocked them greatly. Qin Feng saw the strange look in the eyes of the 4 people. The Shrouded Universe also had a unique system. Like Ling Hai, it focused on martial arts, but it was more focused on immortal martial arts. Martial arts to become an immortal. Ling Hai became an immortal through martial arts. Both power systems were considered branches of martial arts, and it was hard to say who was superior and who was inferior. However, for the 4 worldly immortals, the power of the Immortal Slayer Great World was undoubtedly more attractive to them. They flew all the way and soon entered the inner area of the Spirit Sea. As if passing through a layer of membrane, the huge Spirit Sea origin world appeared in front of the 4 worldly immortals. The divine lands was vast and boundless. The billowing connate vital chi was so dense that it was almost tangible. Spiritual mountains were everywhere, and there were endless caves and blessed lands. The 4 worldly immortals had seen too many pure lands and too many great worlds in their long years. But when they saw the world in front of them, they couldn't help but be stunned. No wonder the creator Ling Hai looked down on the Shrouded Universe. Compared to the vast world in front of them, the Shrouded Universe was too barren. The 4 worldly immortals were a little speechless. If any of the spiritual mountains and blessed lands in the Shrouded Universe fell, it would be enough for many great forces to kill. The thick and boundless immortal spiritual meridians and chaos spiritual meridians were simply dazzling. Qin Feng led the 4 worldly immortals at an extremely fast speed. Soon, they appeared above the Heavenly Court. At this time, above the Heavenly Court, the Chaos World Tree was undergoing an unprecedented change. Chapter 1602. Is this the legendary World Tree? Heavenly Monarch No Beginning, Heavenly Monarch Ruthless, Duanda, and Yi Fan stared at the towering tree in shock. At that moment, all the experts in the Spirit Sea could feel the changes in the giant tree of world. Their hearts felt heavy, as if the enormous pressure weighing down on them was growing. This was especially true for the God Kings, Divine Emperors, and quasi-great thousand-world-level experts. Perhaps it was because the Chaos World Tree was too far away from the Spirit Sea, but the growth of the Chaos World Tree didn't affect the living beings and cultivators in the many planes. Only a portion of the experts above the God King level could clearly sense that the World Tree's leaves and branches were growing more luxuriant, as if it were growing faster. Through the vast sea of clouds, the giant Chaos World Tree was still growing thicker, its trunk longer, and even its insides were changing. Qin Feng could feel it clearly. His eyes flashed brightly. After the Chaos World Tree absorbed a part of the origin of Shrouded Heaven universe, this terrifying Chaos World Tree had undergone an unknown change. More specifically, it seemed to have completed some kind of upgrade after absorbing part of the Shrouded Universe's origin. Qin Feng didn't know much about the Chaos World Tree. He only knew that after transforming into a World Tree, it could support heaven and earth, stabilize time and space, and produce all kinds of connate vital energy, which was extremely beneficial to the evolution of worlds. The specific information wasn't clear. After all, the Chaos World Tree's origin was too strange. Moreover, it was rumored to have originated from the chaos, where a seed had fallen into the Spirit Sea and taken root. However, Qin Feng could sense that this was at least a good thing. The Chaos World Tree's aura was rising. Clouds and wind surged in the firmament, and thunder rumbled in the clear sky. The entire Spirit Sea was shaking, and all the living beings looked up at the firmament with awe and shock. Some natives and weak races of the wilderness all knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly, praising the mercy of the gods. The Almighties in the world were shocked by the speed at which the terrifying aura was rising, especially the Almighties from the various large clans. They all looked in the direction of the World Tree, and their hearts were in turmoil. They didn't know what had happened to the chaotic World Tree. How could such a change happen? The Chaos World Tree supported countless worlds, which contained unimaginable resources. It had always been a key point for many powerful races to compete for. The Lingxiao Palace in the depths of the World Tree was also the focus of many powerful races. The spiritual race's Almighties were the most worried. The spiritual race's relationship with the Chaos World Tree had grown closer and closer. The changes to the Chaos World Tree had the greatest impact on the spiritual race. However, after a period of careful observation, many spirit race experts heaved a sigh of relief. The Chaos World Tree hadn't appeared. Instead, it seemed to be evolving. Above the Chaos World Tree, in a huge plain, the demonic woman watched this scene. There was a strange glint in her eyes. Others might not understand this scene, but she was very clear about it. Now that the primal Chaos World Tree had finished its infancy, it was about to become a primal Chaos Kiliacosm tree. The chaotic ancient tree was not a common species in her world, but it was not a rare species either. In its infancy it was known as the Space Tree. It was very useful for stabilizing nascent secret realms and inner world. Therefore, many experts would seek it out when breaking through. Compared to the Space Tree, it wasn't the best choice. The best choice was the Primordial Tree. The Primordial Tree was the most orthodox world tree in the chaos. It contained a trace of primordial origin. If the Primordial Tree was used as a spiritual root to suppress the inner world, it would be able to maximize the growth potential of the inner world. The next stage of the Space Tree was the Chaos Ancient Tree. At this stage, the Chaos Ancient Tree would have the ability to absorb the vitality of all world. It would strengthen the inner world, and even help the master of the inner world cultivate faster. However, the Chaos Ancient Tree was rare because the resources it provided in the early stages weren't a small amount. However, a Chaos Ancient Tree at this stage was enough for some god-level experts and even godkings to scramble for. However, it was still a bit weaker than the Primordial Tree of the same level. Still, it was slightly better than the Primordial Tree of Life, the Builder Tree, and the Earth Stabilizer Tree. The third stage was the Chaos World Tree. At this stage, the Chaos World Tree's ability would gradually catch up to the Primordial World Tree. Not only could it absorb the vitality of all worlds to nourish itself, but it could also transform acquired into connate. It could return the impure and impure vitality of all worlds to its origin and transform it into connate vitality. The leaves even contained a portion of the true world tree's essence. The leaves could create plains, and the fruits could give birth to many powerful races, such as the giants, void dragons, and spacebreaker beasts. Tree species at this stage were extremely rare. There were very few tree species that could evolve to this stage. The fourth stage was the Chaos Thousand Tree. In the chaos, it didn't matter which tree it was extremely rare to find a tree that could evolve to the level of the Chaos Thousand Tree. If news of a tree at this stage were to spread, some extremely powerful overgods would fight to the death. A tree at this stage was comparable to the primordial Thousand Tree. Aside from its various mysterious and incredible abilities, its most typical ability was the ability to give birth to the boundless thousand worlds. This was an ability that all upper realms, even those of a higher realm, yearned for even in their dreams. There was a hint of envy in the pink-robed witch's eyes. After absorbing part of the origins of two worlds, the Chaos World Tree's breakthrough into the primordial Thousand Tree World Tree was almost inevitable. Having a primordial Thousand World Tree and having a Chaos World Tree in a higher realm were two completely different concepts. Indeed, they were two completely different concepts. The moment the Chaos World Tree broke through, Qin Feng's consciousness saw the 7 elemental realms hanging on the Chaos World Tree that originally belonged to the Overgod space. The elemental realm of wind, elemental realm of earth, elemental realm of fire, elemental realm of water, elemental realm of thunder, elemental realm of light, and elemental realm of darkness. The barriers of the 7 elemental realms were expanding rapidly. In a very short time, they'd expanded to a limit. Bang! Like a silver bottle breaking, the bottleneck of the primordial Thousand Tree shattered. In the greater thousand elements, the 7 lords of the greater thousand elements, the water elemental overlord Lan Ro-er, the fire elemental overlord Ao-her, the light elemental overlord Shurhan, the dark elemental overlord Shurtong, the earth elemental overlord Queen Mother Earth, the wind elemental overlord Grand Essence Goddess, and the thunder elemental overlord Azure Lightning Ancient Tree. The moment the bottleneck of the 7 elemental overlords was broken, Lei Yuan felt a surge of mysterious energy gushing out from the greater thousand elements source, entering his body and godhead. Rumble! His mind surged like a torrent, and his divine body trembled. A profound understanding lingered in his mind, and his cultivation soared like a rocket. Chapter 1603. The Dark Elemental Sector Lord Shurtong, the Earth Elemental Sector Lord Earth Queen, the Wind Elemental Sector Lord Tai Su Goddess, the Thunder Elemental Sector Lord Green Thunder Ancient Tree, the Thunder Elemental Godly King, the Deity Emperor Realm. They reached the pinnacle of Deity Emperor right away. Water Elemental Realm Lord Lan Ro-er, Fire Elemental Realm Lord Ao-her, and Light Elemental Realm Lord Shurhan broke through from the innate Deity Emperor level to the innate Celestial Monarch level. Especially Light Elemental Realm Lord Shurhan. She had once obtained the Fire Elemental Saint God's origin, and Qin Feng gave her the Light Elemental Realm. This time, as the Light Elemental Realm broke through to the Great Thousand, most of the Fire Elemental Saint God's origin was refined, and she reached the pinnacle of the quasi-Great Thousand World. In the Light Elemental Realm, on top of the Heavenly Saint Mountain, Shurhan felt her mind was in a trance as she entered an indescribable state. At this moment, in the depths of the Light Elemental Realm, countless changes were clearly reflected in the depths of her divine soul. Under the influence of these changes, her divine soul absorbed the endless mysteries, and as if she broke through a bottleneck, her understanding of the heaven and earth rose to a whole new level. Her mind was like the laws of heaven and earth, looking down on the common people. As long as she wanted, no changes in the Light Elemental Realm could escape her eyes. At the same time, from this angle, she suddenly realized something. The Light Elemental Realm was so vivid, completely different from the past. Just like the people standing on the bridge looking at the scenery, The people looking at the scenery were also looking at the scenery. In this level, the heaven and earth became more intuitive. The light elemental realm seemed to be formed by the laws, like a huge net that enveloped the entire light elemental realm. Time, space, clouds, mountains, rivers, and even the smallest specks of dust were not affected by it. She broke through? Qin Feng looked above the light elemental realm, but after a moment, he shook his head. Shi Han's aura was very strong, even exceeding the quasi-great thousand-world level, but it was still a little lacking. It was still a little lacking to reach the level 16 great thousand world. However, after refining the fire elemental saint god's origin, her aura was much stronger than the quasi-great thousand-world level experts. Similar to the mortal dust immortal, who was an incomplete 16th level world realm expert. However, Shi Han was still a bit weaker than the worldly immortal because the rules of inception had yet to be born in her spirit sea. However, he had finally touched the threshold. It was an instinctive change in the saint god's worldview. What was the saint god's view of the world? It was the saint god's perspective of heaven and earth. The perspective of a 16th level saint god was undoubtedly far superior to that of a quasi-greater thousand-world realm expert. It was a change in the quality of his soul. With this change, Shi Han was far ahead of the ordinary quasi-greater world-level experts. You've really reached the heavens in a single bound. Emperor No Beginning, Vicious, Yi Fan, Duanda, and the others were astonished when they saw what was going on. Just by condensing a vast thousand immortal domains, he had almost caught up with the four of them. They began to understand why the venerable sovereign had tried every possible means, even faking his death and hiding in the dark. He wanted to combine the immortal domain and the human realm into one. If the four of you are interested, you can take note of a continent and nurture it into a great thousand world. Qin Feng glanced at the four worldly immortals, who had different expressions on their faces. Great thousand worlds are hard to come by. Now that the second universe has been fused and the Chaos World Tree has evolved, more and more great thousand worlds have been born. If we miss this opportunity, we won't have another chance. 10,000 years later, when the tunnel between the two worlds is officially opened, the experts of the Heavenly Court will naturally enter the Spirit Sea to pay their respects to Your Majesty. The Heavenly Court does need a place to stay in the Spirit Sea. Yi Fan nodded slightly and smiled with cupped fists. In that case, Yi Fan would like to thank Your Majesty on behalf of the million disciples of the Heavenly Court. Then, he nodded to Emperor No Beginning, Emperor Ruthless, and Duanda. They stepped into the void and turned into a beam of light, flying toward a part of the Chaos World Tree's planar leaves. At this time, some of the experts of the Spirit Sea Divine System had also reacted. After the Chaos World Tree had evolved, another part of the planes with great potential had been born, and they were in the midst of seizing them. Great Emperor Wu Shi and Great Emperor Ruthless looked at each other and frowned. The two great emperors had always been loners, and they didn't have any disciples. However, now that they had joined the Spirit Sea, they had to cultivate some trusted subordinates in the divine system. This was for the sake of fighting for cultivation resources. Otherwise, if some benefits were offered to them, they might not be able to take them and would have to give up. The two nodded at Qin Feng and turned into a ray of light, disappearing on the spot. Emperor Hades, aren't you going? Qin Feng looked at Duanda, who was dressed up and glowing with golden light. Stroking the sparse beard under his chin, Duanda grinned. Your Majesty, my territory is for the dead. I don't need a place for the living. Hearing this, Qin Feng knew what he meant and glanced at Duanda. There are places of reincarnation in the Spirit Sea. However, the underworld created by the reincarnation of life and death already has a master. If you break through to level 17, I can make the decision to let you unify the two worlds. Level 17. Duanda's eyes flashed and he nodded slightly. Qin Feng looked indifferent. You can go to the underworld first. The underworld and the underworld of the shrouding universe have their own mysteries, which should be good for you. Okay, I'm also very curious about the place of reincarnation in the Spirit Sea. I'd like to take a look at it. Duanda smiled and bowed slightly at Qin Feng. Then, he went directly to the underworld. Qin Feng slightly glanced in the direction where Duanda left, his expression somewhat pensive. In essence, Duanda and Wang Daoi had a conflict of great doubts. In his heart, Qin Feng was more inclined to support Wang Daoi, who he was more familiar with. When he gave the life and death book to Wang Daoi, it proved this point. However, plans could not keep up with changes. Wang Daoi was not lucky enough. He sighed in his heart. Qin Feng's figure flashed and he stepped into the Chaos World Tree. It was as if he had stepped into the heart of the Chaos World Tree. In this region that belonged to the heart of the World Tree, the power of the world was hazy and dense. In the center, a ball of sparkling and translucent green light flowed. The rich power of the world flowed and fused into his body. From the three flowers of the great Tao to the Godhead, Qin Feng felt a sense of familiarity from the bottom of his heart. Qin Feng was like the supreme saint god of the world. After perfectly resolving the barrier between the two worlds, the next step was to completely integrate the shrouding universe. If he could find the 8th and 9th strands of primordial purple aura, Qin Feng would be close to becoming a level 18 saint god. Chapter 1604. The periphery of the Spirit Sea was another base of the resistance. This was the Spirit Cloud Realm, a realm filled with water and clouds. More than 4/5 of the realm was made up of ocean, and the ocean races were the rulers of the realm. The strongest race here was the tidal dragon whale. On the surface, they were the dragon race under the Eastern Sea Dragon Emperor, but in truth, they had long sided with the resistance. Currently, the strongest of the tidal dragon whale was an expert who had already transformed into a dragon. Lingyun Dragon Lord. This was an ancient expert who had cultivated the body of an innate deity king. Although the tidal dragon whale was not outstanding among the many subsidiary races of the dragon race, they were not weak either. At this time, in the depths of the Lingyun Dragon Palace, in the Crystal Dragon Palace, melodious music was playing. The melodious chimes were like the heavenly music of the 9 heavens, and the ethereal heavenly music carried with it a primordial feeling unique to the ancient races. In the great hall, beauties from the various ocean races danced and sang to liven things up. The great hall was lavishly decorated, and it was filled with the majestic style of an emperor. However, it seemed to be lacking in resources, extravagance, and dominance. On the table, there were stacks of rare spiritual fruits and delicacies. Such decorations might have been considered grand before the Spirit Sea's ascension, but after the ascension, it seemed stingy. However, the guest obviously didn't take this to heart. He was also an innate deity king. He wore a purple robe and looked to be in his mid-20s. He was extremely thin, and his face was handsome, but not outstanding. However, at this moment, his appearance and temperament seemed to be changing at any time and place. Lin Zifeng, a disciple of the immemorial underworld path of the immemorial 10 path. After provoking the Spirit Sea Lord, the primordial underworld path was annihilated multiple times by the Spirit Sea divine system. Most of the powerful elders and disciples were killed by the Spirit Sea divine system. Lin Zifeng was very lucky. He managed to escape the encirclement many times over the years, and in the process, he cultivated the body of an innate deity king. He held a cup of wine in his hand and toasted Lingyun Dragon Lord with a smile. I have heard of your name for a long time, Dragon Lord, but I did not expect you to be a family with the tidal dragon whale race. To be able to fight side by side with a senior like the Dragon Monarch is truly delightful. The Lingyun Dragon Lord was burly and his face was blue. He looked like a yaksha. He laughed. Brother Zifeng, you're too courteous. I've heard of Brother Zifeng's reputation since a long time ago. Amongst the younger generation of the organization, there's no one who doesn't know of Brother Zifeng's name. Young Master is also full of praise for Brother Zifeng. In the future, our tidal Dragon Whale clan might even have to look up to Brother Zifeng. Ling Yun Dragon Lord chuckled politely. He knew very well that this assassin, who was famous for his assassination skills, was extremely popular right now. Now, he could be said to be one of the most popular people around the mysterious young master. However, this king of assassins did indeed have an enviable ability. Even a veteran innate deity king like him wouldn't be able to guarantee his survival in front of the king of assassination. He was known as the Grim Reaper of the underworld. Although he was still slightly inferior to the lifeless lord of the Ling High God system, the strongest experts in the resistance recognized him. He was the only king of assassins in the resistance who stood a chance against the lifeless lord. Well said, well said. Lin Zifeng smiled faintly. He didn't seem too enthusiastic nor too cold. An assassin's heart was always cold. This was especially so for someone who aspired to become the world's #1 assassin, the emperor of assassins who could assassinate experts of the Great Thousand World. Lin Zifeng had never forgotten the hatred in his heart. His most respected teacher, his beautiful senior sister, his senior brother who always kept a straight face and liked to teach him a lesson, and his adorable junior sister. He had never forgotten their figures for a single moment. Amidst the toasts, the beauties danced. After 3 rounds of drinking, the music faded away. Looking at the beauties, the Lingyun Dragon Lord suddenly lost interest. The Lingyun Dragon Lord looked at Lin Zifeng with drowsy eyes. Brother Zifeng, do you think that the day will come when we, the Resistance, will destroy the Spirit Sea God system and become the master of the world, just like the young master said? The Lingyun Dragon Lord's expression was gloomy. He had thought that even if he couldn't overthrow the Ling High God System's rule and bring down the Ling High God System's lord, he would at least be able to deal a heavy blow to the Ling High God System. Or he would just delay it for a while. However, in just half a month, that unfamiliar universe had been completely conquered. It wasn't just the Lingyun Dragon Lord. The entire resistance, as well as the experts who were bent on making things difficult for the Ling High God system, suffered a huge blow to their morale. Lin Zifeng raised his head and looked at the Lingyun Dragon Lord calmly. At this moment, a faint voice rang in his mind. "Kid, he's testing you. You should do something about it. As long as you can find the whereabouts of that mysterious guy, I can teach you not only the Heavenly Path life-killing technique, but also all the assassination techniques in the world. Origin Divine Realm, Purple Jade Secret Realm." After receiving news from the Great White Dragon Lord of the Sky Demon Great World, the Purple Jade Dragon Lord's expression changed. An upper realm suddenly appeared in the Ling High? How could an upper realm suddenly appear? There must be a huge secret behind this. Send someone to contact the 9 Underworld's Dragon Lord. As long as he's willing to submit to me, I can allow him to join the Dragon Clan. Understood. A middle-aged scholar-like expert sat down with a respectful expression on his face. Origin Divine Realm, Hong Meng Secret Realm. Hong Meng Taoist stood on a cloud cliff with his hands behind his back, looking into the distance. Not long ago, Hong Meng Taoist had also received information about the Ling High. I originally thought that the Chaos Noble's target was the Origin Divine Realm. Now it seems that I've overlooked something crucial. Hong Meng Taoist sighed slightly. He looked in the direction of the Ling High world with a deep expression. Origin Divine Realm, Phoenix Secret Realm. Ling High? In the deepest part of the primordial volcano, endless terrifying flames spewed out. It was an ancient volcano that had been born since the creation of the Origin Divine Realm. It possessed incredible power. It was also the ancestral land of the Phoenix clan in the 9th district. The primordial phoenix ancestor resided in the depths of the primordial volcano. At this moment, the Crimson Phoenix Lord was looking at the ball of flames on the throne with great respect. Many Phoenix clan experts around him had cold looks on their faces. Previously, the Lord of the Ling High World had rejected the Phoenix clan without any hesitation. He had even humiliated the Phoenix clan. Chapter 1605. No matter what, we must take control of the Spirit Sea. We can't let that brat monopolize it. A powerhouse from the Phoenix clan said with a cold expression. Seconded, the Spirit Sea is of utmost importance and likely contains supreme mysteries. We can't let it fall into the hands of the Spirit Sea Lord. Agreed. Seconded. The powerhouses of the Phoenix clan all had cold looks in their eyes. The Crimson Phoenix Lord looked indifferent. There are no heroes to make this brat famous. On the throne, the archaic Phoenix ancestor nodded slightly. The Phoenix race reached a consensus and soon took action. Huge Chaos warships flew out of their ancestral land and sailed toward the Spirit Sea. In the Origin Divine world, several ancient super-divine systems finally began to notice the Spirit Sea at the far edge. It wasn't just the ancient super-divine systems, but also a number of divine systems at the edge of the Origin Divine world. Many divine systems in the Chaos Sea had heard rumors that the Chaos era was about to end. According to the pattern of the flow of fortune in the Chaos Sea in the past, the central Chaos Sea would shift to the center of the Chaos Sea. The providence of the central Chaos swirling sea would begin to move to the other regions of the Chaos, forming a new center of providence and becoming the new central area of the Chaos Sea. This was a great opportunity for the Chaos Sea to be reshuffled. In previous Chaos eras, many divine systems had seized the opportunity to become immortal divine systems in the Chaos Sea and forge eternal legends. In the Spirit Sea, Qin Feng didn't know that the phenomenon in the Spirit Sea had already alerted many divine systems in the Origin Divine world. However, he didn't care too much about it since there were too many lice around. As shrouding heaven merged into the Spirit Sea, the Origin responded and the 7 strands of connate primordial violet qi in Qin Feng's body merged. Countless abstruse information fused into his nascent spirit along with the fusion of the two worlds. Entering the core region of the world tree, the countless green lights in the heart of the tree vaguely turned into a huge world that blended with the divine light behind Qin Feng. Countless changes of laws related to the fusion of worlds were displayed in the changes of light and shadow. Qin Feng's nascent spirit rapidly absorbed them, turning them into his own accumulation and slowly storing them. During this accumulation, Qin Feng used the power of his primordial spirit to sense the existence of the primordial purple qi in the depths of the universe. However, just as he had guessed, shrouding heaven universe was already broken. The primordial purple qi in the depths of shrouding heaven universe had already been taken away by someone in the era before ancient chaos. Qin Feng wasn't disappointed. He turned his attention to the innate universe book and slashed out the second corpse. The second Tao 3 flower absorbed the reverse energy from the Spirit Sea and grew even more plump. Gradually, it started to merge with the innate universe book, and a portion of the innate universe law's energy from Qin Feng's overgod's godhead was transferred to the second Tao 3 flower. At the same time, outside the world of the Spirit Sea, many god systems were acting strangely. Qin Feng was in seclusion to slay the second corpse. The world of the Spirit Sea was also in an uproar. In the hundreds of years that followed, the structure of the world underwent tremendous changes. This was especially true after the Spirit Sea god system completely merged with shrouding heaven world. The Spirit race was the first to rise. They were subordinate to the Chaos World Tree. After devouring shrouding heaven universe, the Chaos World Tree that supported the Spirit Sea evolved. As the spirit race that occupied most of the Chaos World Tree's world planes, they received a tremendous amount of fortune. As the ruler and king of the spirit race, Crown Prince Tsongcheong received the most fortune and his strength rose the fastest. In just 200 to 300 years, he rose from the early stage of the Ancestor God Realm to the peak of the Ancestor God Realm. He surpassed the Lord of Sword Tao, Dragon Emperor of the East Sea, Mother of Myriad Waters, Five Thunder Emperor, Taichu Celestial Monarch, Grand Supreme Ancestor God, Merciless Ancestor God, and became the last existence to attain the Tao within the next few hundred years. Next were the spirit races Wood Ancestors. Jade Sky Wood Ancestor, Thundercloud Wood Ancestor, Bodhi Wood Ancestor, Chaos Wood Ancestor, Ching Sual Wood Ancestor, Moon Osmanthus Wood Ancestor, Sui Wong Wood Ancestor, Earth Wood Ancestor, Dragon Blood Wood Ancestor, Frost Wood Ancestor, Sin Wood Ancestor, Thunder Wood Ancestor, Light Wood Ancestor, and others. The iridescent Cloud Wood Ancestor was an ancient divine tree in Xingqian school that transformed. Back in the savage battlefield, Qin Feng had met him a few times when he attacked the Golden Light Ancient Tree. He had even helped him plot against the Golden Glaze Ancient Tree. The Thundercloud Wood Ancestor and the Bodhi Wood Ancestor came from the depths of the savage desolate spirit realm and were the ancestors of the divine wood race. The Bodhi Wood Ancestor was a wood ancestor that transformed from the Zen sect ruins in the primordial Pure Land. The primordial wood ancestor was even closer to Qin Feng. It was formed from the primordial chaos ancient tree in the overgod space. The green sapphire wood ancestor was a divine tree that Qin Feng had obtained from the star god treasure vault in the extraterritorial cosmos. The laurel wood ancestor was the guardian spirit root of the silver moon race. As for the Sui sovereign wood ancestor, the great earth wood ancestor, the dragon blood wood ancestor, the frost wood ancestor, the sin wood ancestor, the lightning wood ancestor, and the light wood ancestor, they all came from the 7 elemental great worlds in Qin Feng's overgod space. Among them, most of them became innate celestial monarchs. The strongest ones, the primordial wood ancestor, the sin wood ancestor, and the lightning wood ancestor, were all ancestral gods. Although they had just entered the ancestral god realm, the spirit race's power had grown exponentially. This huge race had completely surpassed the Qilin race, the black tortoise race, and the ice snow race. They were now on par with the phoenix race and the dragon race. This kind of change was naturally accompanied by some territorial dispute. Under the lead of several wood ancestors, the primordial wood ancestor, the sin wood ancestor, and the lightning wood ancestor entered the spirit sea and occupied 3 huge spirit realms. The dragon race and the phoenix race had tried to stop the spirit race's expansion, but the spirit race's experts were increasing and they occupied the Treant race's status in the chaos world. The other races could only watch as they expanded. While the spirit race was expanding, the dragon race, phoenix race, and some other races that focused on bloodline cultivation were also increasing their strength. As the spirit sea leveled up, this change became even more obvious. It was probably the entire world's leveling up that brought about this change. As long as the bloodline's level increased step by step, their strength would naturally increase as well. It was no longer some low-level worlds that needed countless years of accumulation. This change was only temporary. Because the 2 worlds merged, the spirit sea was temporarily unable to fully digest them. As a result, some of the origin energy was converted into dividends for the many living beings to absorb. The more outstanding one's bloodline was, the more obvious it would be. For example, the dragon race, the phoenix race, the ice snow race, the black tortoise race, the Qilin race, and some other races with extremely powerful ancestors. Under this trend, the human race's huge numbers were significantly inferior. However, with their huge numbers, the human race was also full of geniuses. All in all, the races were competing and their strength had entered an explosive period. But in this relatively peaceful environment, there were also people preparing to break through to the 16th level of Xing God. Chapter 1606. Land of the Sorcerer Tribe. This seemed to be the place where the remnants of the sorcerer gods from the immemorial sorcerer civilization gathered. For thousands of years, the revived sorcerer gods no longer called themselves sorcerer cultivators. Instead, they called themselves the Sorcerer Tribe. There were 8 sorcerer gods and 2 sorcerer ancestors. The Sorcerer Tribe was one of the top forces among the many tribes in the Spirit Sea. On this day, in front of the Sorcerer Tribe's main camp, the ancestral Sorcerer Hall, all of a sudden, rumble! It was as if 10,000 bolts of lightning shot out from the ancestral Sorcerer Hall. 10,000 bolts of lightning roared. 10,000 worlds resonated and the 3 realms shook. Lightning phenomenon. Someone is trying to break through the acquired lightning rule. At this moment, all the sorcerer gods on the Sorcerer Tribe's land were looking in the direction of the ancestral Sorcerer Hall. 9 terrifying figures filled with divine power appeared in front of the ancestral Sorcerer Hall. Their gazes were filled with excitement and anxiety that could not be concealed. Among them, 8 silhouettes with monstrous divine power surrounded and protected a burly figure with surging divine power. It was an extremely strong and tall young man with a strange chaotic aura. He was like an expert from the chaotic noble clan, but he was a little different. He was one of the 2 sorcerer ancestors of the Sorcerer Tribe, the ancestral sorcerer of spirits. It was rumored that he was also an ancestor of the Panga clan in the immemorial era. The Panga clan was the orthodox branch of the god of creation. It was rumored that the ancestor of this clan was born with a drop of Pangu's blood essence. They had always claimed to be the orthodox branch of the Panga clan. Other than the Panga clan, which had the purest bloodline, there were actually many powerful branches in the primordial era. They formed the prelude to the martial arts epoch in the immemorial era. However, after experiencing the rise and fall of several eras, most of the clans declined in the long river of time. Today, only a few branches still had some influence. The 8 sorcerer gods came from 8 of the branches that once had inheritances. They were the Fire Sorcerer Clan, the Water Sorcerer Clan, the Wood Sorcerer Clan, the Earth Sorcerer Clan, the Dark Sorcerer Clan, the Star Sorcerer Clan, the Thunder Sorcerer Clan, and the Winter God Clan. Among the 8 branches, the sorcerer gods from the Thunder Sorcerer Clan were the most excited. Many experts from the Thunder Sorcerer Clan clenched their fists. We must succeed. It's the Wizard Tribe's ancestral shaman of thunder breaking through. In the Spirit Sea, in the depths of the continent of the Desolate Tribe, the barbarian ancestor, who was next to the territory of the shamans, was the first to sense the changes. How ambitious! In the depths of the East Sea, in the magnificent Dragon Palace, Ao Qing looked coldly in the direction of the Sorcerer Tribe. At this time, the strength of the various races was making great strides forward. The Shaman tribe could only be ranked in the middle. But once they broke through and reached the 16th step, things would be completely different. They might even surpass the Spirit race, the Dragon race, and become an existence on par with the Spirit Sea Phoenix race. Among the Spirit tribe, Crown Prince Tsangqiong looked in the direction of the Sorcerer tribe with a strange look in his eyes. Although the Ancestor of Lightning was one of the 2 strongest ancestor sorcerers in the Sorcerer tribe, he was definitely not outstanding among the ancestor gods. The Black Tortoise ancestral god from the Black Tortoise clan, the Ice Soul ancestral god from the Ice Snow clan, the Chelan ancestral god from the Chelan clan, and some of the ancient immemorial experts all looked in the direction of the Sorcerer clan with different expressions. Thunder. Rolling thunder. After a short eruption, the Tao integration vision reached its climax. Countless lightning bolts appeared in the numerous planes in all directions, even in the outer planes of the Spirit Sea. The thunder resounded throughout the heavens. It was as if the heavens had fallen into a destructive wave. Tao transformation, auspicious sign, destruction of all directions. In the three huge worlds of the chaotic world tree, Emperor Wu Shi, Emperor Ruthless, Yi Fan, and Duan De looked at the huge Tao integration vision above their heads. Someone is breaking through. Yi Fan was shocked. This was the first time he had seen an expert breaking through to the 16th step in the Spirit Sea. In the shrouding sky universe, when a peak great emperor broke through to the mortal-immortal realm, there would also be a Tao integration vision, but there was never such a terrifying movement. It was as if the laws of heaven and earth had descended directly. It was a complete transformation. There's something different. Emperor Wu Shi's eyes flashed with various strange lights. In the shrouding sky universe, an expert had to cultivate his body and soul to the ultimate level before he could attempt to break through to the mortal-immortal realm. That kind of transformation was extremely difficult. In the shrouding sky universe, many great emperors and emperors had died at the critical juncture of the transformation. Even peerless experts like Laozi, Ling Bao, Emperor Qing, and Amitabha had turned into dust during the transformation. Emperor Wu Shi could tell from the aura and the fluctuations of the laws that the expert who had broken through was strong, but much weaker than some of the peak emperors of the shrouding sky world. If this kind of breakthrough was in the shrouding sky world, the success rate of the transformation would be close to zero. On the chaotic world tree, Qin Feng's figure appeared on a branch. Great Emperor Ruthless and Duan De shared the same opinion. This kind of ancestor god, in front of the shrouding heavens world experts of the same level, was almost an existence that could be easily killed. On the chaotic world tree, a part of Qin Feng's mind sensed the unusually active lightning law inside the chaotic world tree and opened his eyes. The place where the great world of the sorcerer race was located was already filled with several loud explosions. Some experts began to comprehend the Tao. Many experts of the lightning law descended and attacked the great world of the sorcerer race with all their might. Among them, there were also some races that had a feud with the sorcerer race, such as the barbarian race. In the bombardment, the entire great world of the sorcerer race seemed to be filled with countless fireworks and was on the verge of collapse. The great world of the sorcerer race had been prepared and had also paid a high price to invite some experts of the strong races to help. The siege of the experts of the various races did not affect the ancestor of lightning. Half a day later, the phenomenon of the heavens and earth shaking disappeared, and then infinite laws appeared between heaven and earth. 13 congenital laws and 5,000 acquired laws. However, the phenomenon of these laws only flashed for a moment, and then the 13 congenital laws and many acquired laws disappeared, leaving only one acquired law to truly manifest. Acquired lightning law. The unification of the Tao had officially begun. At this moment, the billions of cultivators of the acquired lightning law in the heavens and earth felt that the acquired lightning law in the void began to disappear. At this point, some of the experts of the large races surrounding the great world of the sorcerer race had no choice but to stop their attacks. They knew that it was useless to attack at this time. In the void, there were more phenomena of laws that appeared as the lightning law condensed. Chapter 1607. The first step was to intercept the lightning laws. The second step was to condense one's own lightning laws. Once this step was completed, one would be able to enter the third step, completely mastering the lightning laws, one step to become the lightning master god. However, just as the numerous phenomena were becoming more and more intense, all of the Tao integration stage phenomena suddenly froze. Then, all the visions came to an abrupt end and collapse. The boundless lightning dissipated. Failed. At this moment, the ancestral gods of the various worlds sighed softly. Another ancestral god had failed. It seems that the ancestral god of the Spirit Sea's breakthrough is much more difficult than in our world. Yi Fan secretly shook his head after watching the entire process of the ancestral wizard of Thunder's breakthrough. In the Shrouding Heaven universe, although the transformation was extremely dangerous and entering the ancestral god realm was not as easy as in the Spirit Sea, once one entered the ancestral god realm, the chances of breaking through were much higher than the ancestral gods of the various planes of the Spirit Sea. On the Chaos World Tree, Qin Feng stood with his hands behind his back. His long hair fell to his shoulders and his eyes flashed with a strange light. The current cultivation system of the Spirit Sea was indeed a little superficial. Perhaps it was because it had just ascended and its foundation was not enough. In its cultivation system, it was not like the shrouded heaven world, which pursued the transformation of the soul and the divine body. It pursued the ultimate realm in the extreme Tao. It was also not like the void universe, which seemed to be demonstrating and repeatedly seeking the Tao. It was cautious and indifferent in the details. This kind of breakthrough was really like passing through the gates of hell. The chances of failure were close to infinite. Qin Feng was silent. In the Spirit Sea world, the best golden age for Tao attainment was probably the 30,000 years after the fusion of the Shrouding Heaven universe. After the fusion of the Shrouding Heaven universe's cultivation system, the cultivation system of the Spirit Sea would be further perfected. At that time, the chances of Tao attainment would be greatly increased. At this moment, in the various planes of the Spirit Sea, there was no lack of people gloating over the fall of the ancestral Wizard of Thunder, such as the barbarian race experts. As for the fall of the ancestral Wizard of Thunder, they were just short of holding a big banquet to celebrate. More experts fell into a state of depression. After witnessing the fall of a peerless ancestral god with their own eyes, many of the top experts of the planes could not help but feel a little traumatized. This shadow would continue to haunt the ancestral gods of these races for a very long period of time. On the Chaos World Tree, Qin Feng slowly raised his head. At this time, he had completely refined Shrouded Universe and integrated it into his Spirit Sea. With the support of a part of Shrouded Universe's origin, his strength had greatly improved. The 7 connate primordial violet chi were refined in one fell swoop. The second corpse had already left his body and was no longer hindered by the refinement of the connate primordial law. After fusing with the Shrouding Heaven universe and obtaining the incomplete laws of heaven and earth of the Shrouding Heaven universe, Qin Feng had gained insight into some key information. It was a crucial thing that he had never noticed in the past, or perhaps he had been deceived. The 18th level was within his reach. All of a sudden, Qin Feng looked off into the depths of the numerous planes of existence. In the next instant, the 2 sacred gods in the Spirit Sea raised their head. In the depths of the billions of galaxies, amidst the many star regions, many star gods of the heaven realm suddenly raised their heads. The myriad worlds in the heavens shook, and the 3 realms resonated. Rumble! All the stars in the sky shone brightly. Myriad stars worshipped the Tao of Tao transformation. It took only a moment for some ancestral gods to come to their senses. A star Tao ancestor god, who cultivated the laws of the stars, was attempting the Tao integration stage. In the depths of the billions of galaxies, there was an incomparably hidden world. It seemed to be a great world born purely of the galaxy's essence. Within this great world stood an ancestral god in a robe of black and white. He wore a tall crown and a wide belt, and his expression was dignified and cold. "It's him." A trace of surprise flashed through Qin Feng's eyes when he saw the ancestral god who cultivated the laws of the stars. The ancestral god who cultivated the laws of the stars had an aura that was completely different from ordinary ancestral gods. It was somewhat similar to the aura of Realm Lord Shirhan of the Light Elemental Plane. The sacred god's worldview. Qin Feng's surprise deepened when he sensed the unique aura. It wasn't just Qin Feng. The ancestral gods of the various races in the various planes of existence were all stunned. At this moment, the previous ancestral god had just failed the Tao integration stage. Many ancestral gods had fallen into the shadow of failure, and it could be said that their state of mind was at its lowest. Who would choose to face the shadow of failure at this moment? Such a state of mind was not something that ordinary top-notch ancestral gods could compare to. Rumble. A boundless phenomenon erupted. All sorts of postnatal, culmination, and even a portion of connate phenomena manifested. The majestic phenomena enveloped more than half of the spirit sea. Many ancestral gods of the various planes were stupefied. Clearly, this ancestral god's foundation was much stronger than that of the ancestral shaman of lightning. The ancestral shaman of lightning's Tao integration stage phenomenon had only affected less than a tenth of the spirit sea. Some of the powerful races, as well as some experts who cultivated the laws of the stars, were ready to make a move. However, looking at the tens of millions of celestial soldiers and celestial generals outside the great world, they could only forcefully suppress the unwillingness and viciousness in their hearts. Atop the Chaos World Tree, Emperor No Beginning, Emperor Ruthless, Duanda, and Yi Fan's eyes flickered with surprise when they saw this scene. They could tell that the existence who was breaking through to become a master god of the stars was most likely someone from the Spirit Sea Divine Court. At the same time, Emperor No Beginning, Emperor No Beginning, Emperor Ruthless, Duanda, and Yi Fan also sensed an aura that was different from that of the previous ancestral god. This aura was very similar to that of mortal immortals like them, but it was fainter. However, in essence it was extremely close. The probability of this expert breaking through is much higher than that of the ancestral shaman of lightning. The Four's eyes flickered with surprise. With the fusion of the two worlds and the same laws, the pressure on the experts of the shrouded heaven universe was undoubtedly greater if there was no master god. No experts ran out to stop them. Half a day later, the phenomena of the myriad worlds shaking disappeared. Then, endless laws appeared between heaven and earth. 13 connate laws and 5,000 postnatal laws. These phenomena were similar to those of the ancestral shaman of lightning's Tao integration stage. After the phenomena of these laws flashed for an instant, the 13 innate laws and the many acquired laws all faded away, leaving only one acquired law to truly manifest. The postnatal star law. The Tao integration stage had officially begun. Many experts who cultivated the laws of the stars were ready. Sure enough, in the next moment, the billions of cultivators who cultivated the postnatal star law in the myriad worlds felt that the postnatal star law in the void began to disappear. The first step of the breakthrough was to intercept the laws. The second step was to condense one's own laws and replace them. Previously, the ancestral shaman of lightning had fallen under this step. Chapter 1608. Qin Feng gazed into the depths of the starry sky. That was an existence that was breaking through. Actually, what he had been looking forward to was the connate order rules. The connate order rules and connate chaos rules were a pair of opposite rules. The acquired star rules were the embodiment of the connate order rules. Without a doubt, as a connate rule, the connate order was undoubtedly more powerful. It was a pity that the connate order did not appear after the spirit sea leveled up. As he pondered, the billions of stars in the void condensed and the void became extremely dark. The second step of condensing the star rules had been completed. At this moment, many ancestor gods of the various planes did not look too good. The second step was completed. The second step of the breakthrough was completed. Only the final third step was left. Many ancestor gods stared intently into the depths of the galaxy. A master god ruled over countless planes. A master god was a suffocating mountain. There were already 3 such existences in the spirit sea. Many ancestor gods did not wish for a fourth to appear. Even some of the star lords and star gods who belonged to the god system had strange expressions. Many experts waited anxiously for the final result. Rumble. After dozens of breaths, there was a loud sound in the depths of the billions of stars. The spirit sea shook. In the depths of the billions of worlds, a purple aura filled the spirit sea. All living beings in the world bowed and greeted. Star Master God. Even the ancestral gods of the many planes had no choice but to bow unwillingly in the face of this pressure. It's a success. At this moment, in the entire spirit sea, the minds of countless experts were blank. At the same time, above the billions of galaxies, countless stars shone brightly. With the birth of the Master God, a huge amount of vitality spread across the billions of galaxies. Among the countless stars, the star souls were born and many connate star lords were born. And in the great world that was born from the billions of galaxies where the Star Master God had attained his Tao, with the blessing of the Master God and the integration of the star rules, the great world seemed to have swallowed a huge dose of tonic and instantly turned into a greater thousand stars world. In the underworld, Wang Daoi looked into the depths of the billions of galaxies with a faint divine light flickering in his eyes. Congratulations on achieving the Tao, teacher. Seems like I should make a trip there. He turned around and looked at the Book of Life and Death in his hand. He thought about the expert he had met not long ago and sighed. He casually tossed the Book of Life and Death on the table beside him. Then, he went to the storeroom to choose a few gifts and prepared a generous gift. On the sun, Ancestor Phoenix smiled bitterly as she looked into the depths of the 33 galaxies. She was the holy god of light, the lord of the sun star. Strictly speaking, she was naturally suppressed by the lord of the stars. Her gaze landed on Ji Qinxian and Ji Huang who were in front of the sun palace. That person was once your master. I need the sun, so I can't leave for now. Go to the storehouse and pick out a few gifts. You can go and congratulate the emperor on my behalf. Ji Qinxian and Ji Huang looked at each other and nodded. Everyone knew that the holy god of light had been ordered by that emperor to guard the sun star for 10,000 years. He was not allowed to come out for 10,000 years. It's a success. On the Chaos World Tree, Emperor Wu Shi, Emperor Ruthless Yi Fan, and Duan decide. In the Spirit Sea, many experts from various planes were rushing to the greater thousand domains to congratulate the holy god of light. For a time, the entire Spirit Sea was filled with streaks of divine light, as if they were rushing to a market. However, the new overgod who had shaken the Spirit Sea, the Lord of the Stars, appeared in the Lingshao Palace. The first thing he did after becoming a overgod was to pay respects to the Spirit Sea Overlord. Qin Feng was very satisfied with this and immediately bestowed a series of treasures, as well as the cultivation method after 16th level Holy God. He also conferred him the title of Holy God of the Stars, who was in charge of billions of galaxies. He was the third Holy God of the Spirit Sea Pantheon. Although the birth of a new overgod was like having an additional mountain hanging over their heads, it was still encouraging news for many elder gods. The shadow cast by the death of ancestral shaman of lightning was quickly washed away. To the Spirit Sea divine system, each additional saint god would undoubtedly make them stronger. However, for the resistance, it meant that their scope of survival was further reduced. Recently, with the expansion of the Spirit Sea this year, Qin Feng had been researching how to further upgrade the nets above snares below. Every upgrade of the nets above snares below was undoubtedly a further transformation of the precepts of heaven and earth. Of course, this also meant that Qin Feng's skills had improved. The reason why the resistance had been able to remain alive and kicking all these years was because of the divine secret talismans that could block or deceive part of the nets above snares below's power. If the divine secret talismans were removed, wiping out the resistance would be a matter of days. In the periphery of the Spirit Sea, Among the countless worlds and planes, there was a small plain that was blooming with flowers and beautiful purples. A young man's gaze was fixed in front of a lake. His eyes flashed with ferocity, gentleness, and coldness, like the high and mighty heavens. There was also a trace of irritation that could not be removed. The summoned upper realm had failed, and now the Spirit Sea Pantheon had given birth to a new overgod. Even though he had the bronze altar's heaven-defying ability to conceal the divine secret, he still felt a suffocating pressure. He looked at the small bronze altar on his palm and suddenly murmured coldly, "I haven't fallen yet. As long as I'm alive, I won't give up. One day, the position of Overlord of the Spirit Sea will be mine." He gritted his teeth. At this moment, a ball of light was faintly discernible above the bronze altar. Before long, the bronze altar's cooldown would be over, and he would be able to summon worlds again. At this moment, in the depths of the shrouded universe, beams of immortal light flew out from the most secretive world with dense immortal chi and landed on the void star field. "Father, where are we going? Do we have to take this opportunity to kill the remaining members of the heavenly court?" A huge immortal phoenix spread its wings, and immortal light was as sharp as knives. Behind him were many divine generals, many of whom were born holy spirits. There was no lack of Emperor Tao Supremes among them. In front of the many experts was a stalwart and handsome young man surrounded by immortal light. The Immortal Emperor. When they saw the Immortal Emperor break through the immortal realm, Pang Bo, Zhang Wenchang, the Black Emperor, and many other experts in the heavenly court were on guard. The Immortal Emperor only glanced at Prince Tian. "Let's go to the Spirit Sea now." There was a hint of gloominess in the Immortal Sky Emperor's beautiful eyes. These days, he had been feeling uneasy, especially when the three unfamiliar immortals, Emperor Ruthless, Yi Fan, and Duan De, appeared. The group was extremely fast, but when they approached the Tunnel of Two Worlds, the Immortal Emperor's expression changed drastically. In front of the two tunnels, 4 figures suddenly appeared out of thin air. Chapter 1609. Immortal Emperor, what are you thinking? Yi Fan looked coldly at the Undying Sky Emperor. Yi Fan. The Immortal Emperor's expression turned ugly. He then looked at Yi Fan. Emperor No Beginning, Emperor Ruthless, and Duan De. The Immortal Emperor's heart sank. The hatred between him and the heavenly court was unresolvable. He had killed too many experts of the heavenly court. At the same time, Yi Fan had also killed many of his divine generals. Yi Fan's eyes were filled with killing intent. If he hadn't waited here in advance and allowed the Undying Emperor to enter the eyes of that person, he would have become a huge problem. In short, no matter what, let the Immortal Emperor enter the Spirit Sea. A great battle broke out in an instant. 4 against 1, in just a moment, Yi Fan's palm turned into a knife and split open the Immortal Emperor's head. A handprint shattered the Immortal Emperor's indestructible primordial spirit. The other mortal immortal was killed by Emperor No Beginning with one hand. Prince Tian and a group of divine generals died at the hands of Emperor Ruthless and Duan De. After killing the Immortal Emperor, the 4 rushed into the depths of the immortal realm and joined forces to kill Di Zun, completely destroying the great Emperor of the shrouding universe. The huge movement shook the 2 universes. On the Chaos World Tree, Qin Feng looked coldly at Yi Fan, No Beginning, and the others, killing the Immortal Emperor and Di Zun. The Immortal Emperor and Di Zun had planned to submit to the Spirit Sea divine system hundreds of years ago. Qin Feng intended to keep the 2 mortal immortals under control. However, the 2 mortal immortals had an unresolvable enmity with Yi Fan and the others. For the sake of the divine system's stability, Qin Feng finally chose to give up the 2 mortal immortals. After dealing with the Immortal Emperor and Di Zun, Yi Fan, No Beginning, Ruthless, Duan De, and the others began to build martial arts academies on the major ancient stars of shrouding universe. After seeing the prosperity of the Spirit Sea, Yi Fan, no beginning, ruthless, and Duanda knew that there was not much time left for Shrouding Universe to grow. After 10,000 years, the experts of the Spirit Sea would pour into Shrouding Universe. At that time, if the experts of Shrouding Universe could not protect their territories, the experts of the Spirit Sea would not be polite to them. Many martial arts academies appeared on countless ancient life stars. The heaven-blessed land sent out many powerful great beings and started to nurture some of the great beings in their own universe. The prosperity of martial Tao brought great fortune to Yi Fan, No Beginning, Vicious, and Duanda. Their understanding of the laws of nature improved rapidly. The four of them could clearly sense that several of the 8 innate laws of the Shrouding Heaven universe had been perfected. Among them, there was the innate rule of strength and the innate rule of slaughter that overlapped with the Spirit Sea. As for the remaining innate chaos, innate death, innate destruction, innate 5 elements, innate fate, and innate nirvana, they were rapidly being born. In the Spirit Sea, not long after the star Venerable became the master of the stars, there was a loud sound in the world. Lord Ba had finally refined the dark star domain and had merged with the post-celestial law of darkness. Within the Spirit Sea, light and darkness had finally given birth to their own saint gods. After Lord Ba attained the Tao of the Darkness Master God. In the wilderness, the Golden Crow clan was tempted by the extremely rich aura of darkness. Almost all of their bloodlines mutated and were eroded by force, turning into golden crows of darkness. In the entire dark star domain, planets were infected by the power of the origin of darkness and turned into the origin of darkness Sunday. It became the headquarters of the Golden Crow clan. With this, the Golden Crow clan became a powerful clan that was not inferior to the Phoenix clan. The greatest change was in the depths of the Milky Way. With the breakthrough of the Master of the Stars, countless star souls were born in the depths of the Milky Way. The Star Clan had officially stepped onto the stage of history. The stars seemed to have come to life. In fact, the transformation of the Star Clan was a little special. They had 2 methods of transformation. The first was to nurture the star embryo with the star soul and turn into an innate star god. The second method was to use the entire star as a shell and transform the body. The 2 methods had their advantages and disadvantages. The first method focused more on the soul and the other on the body. Most of the experts of the Star Clan chose the first method of transformation. It was simpler, although it was slightly weaker than the second method. The second method was more powerful, but the body was huge and difficult to transform. Moreover, it could be done at the cost of sacrificing a star. Naturally, it was resisted by the experts of the Star Clan. Moreover, the second method of transformation would be hated by many life forms born on the star. With the Star Master, the Star Saint God, as their backer, the Star Clan developed at an unusually rapid pace. The Star Clan civilization appeared in almost every major Milky Way. The most famous one was the huge servant clan of the Star Clan. The number of servant clans that used the stars as their nests was the highest among all the clans. In a short period of time, Star Clan caught up with a few strong clans that were ranked in the top 10 with their astounding development speed. For example, the Water Fairy Clan, Ice Snow Clan, Black Tortoise Clan, and Kirin Clan. They were only slightly weaker than the Phoenix Clan, Golden Crow Clan, and Spirit Clan. All the clans entered a period of rapid development. During this period, many ancestral gods were encouraged by the breakthrough of the Master of the Stars and began to break through to the Holy God realm. Strange phenomena occurred frequently. However, one after another, almost all of them failed. The high and lofty realm of the Master God was not something that anyone could break through. It was still as cruel as ever. Some of the experts of the Spirit Sea Divine System were happy to watch the show. Every ancestral god that died took over the territories and forces under these people's control. During this period of time, Most of the people breaking through to the Master God realm were experts of the Spirit Sea divine system. Some time ago, the descent of the shrouded universe was ordered by the Spirit Sea divine system. Some of the experts who did not belong to the Spirit Sea divine system knew that an unfamiliar upper realm had descended, but many of them did not know that it had merged. Otherwise, they would not have chosen to break through at the juncture of the two realms merging. The merging of the two realms and the transformation of the laws was no less beneficial than personally experiencing the ascension of an upper realm. It was conceivable that if they could digest this benefit, coupled with the era of the merging of the two realms' cultivation systems, the chances of breaking through would be much higher than now. As the clans grew stronger, new innate gods were born in the depths of the Spirit Sea. Ordinary people would not be able to sense the enormous number of new innate god. Only Qin Feng on the Chaos World Tree could see it clearly. As the two realms' laws merged and clashed, some of the fragments fell into the streams of innate qi, the spirit veins or the blessed lands, where they quickly gained sentience and became innate gods. The Chaos World Tree had given birth to the most innate gods, but Qin Feng drove them all out of the Chaos World Tree. Amidst the scene of the merging of the two universes, in a small world outside the Spirit Sea. Beside the lake, the mysterious youth looked at the bronze altar in the middle of the lake that had finally cooled down. His eyes were filled with joy and ferocity. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.